Rimmler's task had only begun. Classification camps were under construction in every region of Helden, and several were already in operation. But the job of re-examining every certificate holder in Helden was a staggering one, and would require a prolonged, heroic effort. The benefits, however, would be worth any sacrifice. When the task was completed, the last dominator within the boundaries of Helden would be slain. Every inhabitant tainted by a mutated gene would be sterilized or exiled, and the very cream of the gene pool would be concentrated in the SS, which would become the purebred breeding stock of the next stage of true human evolution. Even in this close-quarter combat, the warriors of Zend showed little, if any, individual initiative. They simply pressed forward, rank after rank, swinging their truncheons at everything that moved. Perhaps even their truncheon blows were automatic behavior, rather than individually aimed. As each warrior fell, another in the solid press behind simply popped into the gap in the line, a replacement part in the great protoplasmic killing machine that was the Zend Horde. Thus, the battle assumed an inevitable pattern. Led by Fredric, the Helder column tore into the Horde at speed, killing everything before it, but taking certain losses due to sheer attrition. For their part, the Dominators simply threw wave after wave of warriors at the on-rushing Helder, for their reserves seemed endless. The consequent slaughter of warriors was so tremendous that the forward advance of the Helder strike force was limited chiefly by the tangle of smashed giants' corpses that lay strewn in its path. Soon Fredric had fought his way to within 100 yards of the Zend steam dreadnoughts, which had gathered themselves into the defensive circle, completely surrounded by warriors. Behind him came Best, then the Fort lead tanks, and the elite motorcycle SS bodyguard, their black leather reddened with warrior blood. To the rear was a great main formation of SS shock troops advancing through the body of the Horde, leaving a bloody river of fallen warriors in its wake. Suddenly, the tactics of the Dominators changed. The dominance groups of warriors surrounding the dreadnoughts stood their ground, switched over from truncheons to rifles, and began to fire volley after volley at point-blank range straight at the unrushing Helder shock troops. Behind Fredric, a fine young SS hero screamed in pain, then fell from his motorcycle with bright blood spurting from the deep wound in his neck. All around Fredric, bullets tore into the SS men. Scores of fine specimens shrieked in agony and fell from their mounts into the dust. A bullet pinged off the frame of Berth's cycle and missed his head by inches. Hi, I'm Henry.
I'm Jacob.
Welcome back to Technopoverty. We're reading Norman Spinrad's The Iron Dream while playing Medal of Honor for the PlayStation 1. As always, Technopoverty is an excuse to play books and read games, bounce the two off each other with you, the chat, and just, have a chill night. Hope y'all are doing well. Nice to see you here, Ja32. Of course, I see that we have a few other chatters here. Thanks to all our regulars for hanging with us. Mask for Mask, if you're here, hope you're doing good. I know sometime in the night we typically will see Captain Quasar, Sleepy Zane. Sometimes we get ghosts like a ghost bro. Happy Truncheon Thursday. That's right. For all you Metal Gear Solid 2 heads out there, did you know it's April 30th? So The Iron Dream, the parts that I'm reading, once again, are from The Lord of the Swastika, a book published by Adolf Hitler in 1953 in the alternate history of Norman Spinrad's The Iron Dream. Jacob, I'm amazed at how much, despite reading paragraphs of dialogue about this battle, I really don't see it. I just hear dudes are killing each other and dying, and some of them are pretty, and some of them are ugly.
Interesting.
And I really love the psychology of the author at play. That's where a lot of the bad purple prose and intentionally shitting writing really shines in this book. He'll describe it as like it's a heroic battle, but the enemies were all like shitty mutants and like subhuman mongrels and like not worth, like they're both like formless and not worth any kind of dignity, but at the same time killing them is supposed to be the most epic heroic thing. It's such a great dissonant contrast. Which again speaks to the fantasy of the fascist scapegoat. The enemy is strong, but the enemy's also weak. Like, you're a small little guy, but you're also the bravest boy in the world. You don't want to say you're shooting fish in a barrel, but you're also chuckling to yourself about how much it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Also, he's just calling him the SS by this point. Like, it's not even like he's not holding on to the Knights of the Swastika moniker. Yeah, unlike the Fredric Jaeger being like a replacement for Adolf Hitler, Helden instead of Germany. There's I forget exactly the word he uses, but it's basically a rhyming name with Poland to describe the Polish as they're invading Poland. That starts stripping away and it becomes less and less original, and you're like, oh, he's just mad at this point. Now he's just angry and he can't even keep up his fantasy appearance,
Yeah.
It's like when J.K. Rowling stopped writing magic books and she started writing murder mysteries where trans people were the killers because she just got too mad about it and couldn't do her stupid wizard school anymore.
Yeah. That black mold, man, you gotta be careful around it.
By the time the remaining dominators managed to turn their rear echelons around to cope with the SS attack, Fredric had led his men deep into the horde, inflicting incredible carnage on the enemy. Moreover, so many war wagons had been destroyed and dominators slain that there were more rogue warriors thrashing about insanely than there were disciplined troops. The Zend advance towards Waffling's positions fell apart in a mad melee of thrashing, shrieking, defecating animalism. See, it's not like there's not a tangible description of how the battle comes to resolve. It's just, the positions fell apart in the mad melee of thrashing, shrieking, defecating.
Yeah.
Seeing this and therefore knowing that Frederic's men had arrived on the scene, every last man in Waffling's army erupted from the trenches and stormed forward in an all-out do-or-die charge. The Zend horde, already thrown into utter disarray, was now caught between two great advancing lines of helter steel and heroism. The outcome of the battle under such conditions was a foregone conclusion. It speaks to me of just like Ender's Game comes to mind. Are you familiar with Ender's Game?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Orson Scott Card's politics? He's right wing, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And it's like Ender's Game is a fun novel. It's a very good example of a shallow or kind of cheap shot protagonist in the sense that like Ender's the smartest boy and the only reason he loses is because he's being lied to. You know what I mean? It's that very, again, when we first started talking about Fredric Jaeger or like bad anime shonen protagonist or like bad Luke Skywalker molded protagonist where like they don't have any flaws, they just don't know a particular thing. And then typically in like an undramatic fashion, it'll just be revealed near the end that like, oh, your best friend's been lying to you, like, oh, the government's been lying to you, like, it's never that like you believed and trusted or acted in your own agency on something, it's that like the devil made you do it.
Yeah.
Is basically what comes down to.
3-2's on it with
yeah, 3-2. 3-2, yeah, 3-2, you know exactly what I'm talking about that too. I think that's why, even if you read Ender's Game as a kid and like it, and like, it's still worth like, if you're critical of something, to recognize why you're being critical of it. This is also why like, no, go back and read Harry Potter with J.K. Rowling's current politics and mindset in mind, and you'll notice the series does reflect it in some ways. Like, she is a bully. She does make fun of, like, fat people and anybody who doesn't conform to, like, a standard, like, Anglo-Saxon, like, idea of normal. And, like, I didn't realize it, but, like, Rita Skeeter is her making fun of trans people and being very mean-spirited about it. I mean... Also, the whole end of Harry Potter is just like, there's no system reform. They're just like, okay, bad guy gone, time to be a cop again. The Zend horde, already thrown into utter disarray, was now caught between two great advancing lines of helter steel and heroism. The outcome of the battle under such conditions was a foregone conclusion. Slashing his way through veritable seas of sour-smelling, crazed warriors who thrashed about pointlessly as they died, Fredric was filled with a fierce elation. Each great blow of the steel commander felled another brace of obscene monstrosities. Each warrior slain was one less enemy left alive to bar his way to total victory. All around him, the SS mowed down warriors with an ever-increasing frenzy, summoning up vast reservoirs of hysterical strength, perhaps somehow drawing on the resources of the racial will itself. Fredric and his men were united in a battlefield communion of heroic and triumphant struggle in which time and fatigue were empty words, devoid of meaning. Dog, we got so mad our racist grandpa's ghost, like, helped us get stronger, and, like, we just didn't even think, we just lusted for it.
Yeah. We just have it.
I simply lust for retcons that are satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Master Mouse. Yeah, I don't always hate retcons either. Like, also, I think that word's kind of stretched and twisted in ways beyond what I think it actually means. I think actual retcons, much like actual, like, bad Deus Ex Machinas, don't happen as frequently as we think. What's up, L Man? We're just reading. Hope you're doing great. It was very funny to find out the Anthony Gramuglia video against that one right-wing dude. He's just Discord drama we'll talk about later at some point in the run. Let's get back to reading. I just want to reread this one very stupid sentence because it highlights the very just pure idealism of Hitler's writing. All around him, the SS mowed down warriors with an ever-increasing frenzy, summoning up vast reservoirs of hysterical strength, perhaps somehow drawing on the resources of the racial will itself. Fredric and his men were united in a battle-filled communion of heroic and triumphant struggle, in which time and fatigue were empty words, devoid of meaning. Fredric had no concept of how long the battle had gone on. He drove on his motorcycle forward into the boiling chaos of the totally panicked Zin horde, slaying everything before him with the great truncheon. His black leather uniform was virtually dyed red with gore. Blood ran down the silvery shaft of the steel commander, soaking his right hand in rich carnelian ichor. Yet he felt no sense of time's passage, nor hint of waning strength. The warriors before him existed to be slain, and he slew them. These were the only parameters of the universe of battle through which he moved. He is in the gaming flow state zone. He's just like NPC bonk, NPC bonk, NPC bonk, NPC bonk. But see how in which, like, because it's destined to be victorious, there's no tension, there's no tug and pull, there's not even really any fun. You're just hearing about the best boy just easily walking towards destiny.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-2. If you just get really mad and lost in the sauce and remember the racism of your ancestors, you'll forget time exists and become the ultimate killer, and that will solve your problems, right? Okay, so what I was basically reading through was a huge battle scene because last time we left off, our boy ascended to Supreme Chancellor of Helden after killing the Dominator on the council, and he began purifying the land. The first quote I read was him setting up camps, Jacob. He sets up camps so that citizens can reapply for citizenship, because at the beginning of the novel, remember, the racial laws were just too easy?
Yeah, everyone got in way
We're fixing that, boy. But that chapter, the battle chapter that I just read most of those passages from, it was the most boring chapter of the book. It was a fun chapter. I get why it was written the way it was, but it was very much Hitler just talking about his army and his organization, like a dude telling you his setup in an RTS game, except you've never played this game and you don't know what any of the things mean.
Yeah,
and he's just like, yeah, I have X amount of units here, X amount of units here, our economy mode in this region set to this, our economy mode in this region set to that. Just like, you know, a CEO running down a profit loss sheet with you not really telling you anything, just being like, you're making money here, you're making money here, you're making money here. Yeah, very interesting how that classification brain, pre-computers, still very much a thing. I don't know, in some ways this is why I think like vampire myths have the whole rice counting aspect to them. It's like because it gets so caught up in like accounting for something that ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's an aimless fetish, or yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, just the utter fascination with the the uselessness of it.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly
Wait, why are they talking about James Spader in the chat? I'm so lost.
Is James Spader cool? I mean, I don't know that he's not cool. I'll say
I haven't heard anything.
I won't vouch for him, but like, you know.
We've recently developed 4 additional tests, Riddler told Fredric proudly. Each Helder must now meet 23 genetic criteria, and of course the entrance requirements for the SS are infinitely more stringent. Since we've already uncovered close to 70,000 SS recruits in the camps, we've been able to upgrade the SS criteria once more. The women's camps have produced nearly 40,000 females found genetically suitable for mating with the SS. Can you imagine what incredible specimens the next generation will produce, my commander? There's no doubt about it, Rimler, Fredric said. You've worked wonders. Glowing with well-deserved pride, Rimler led Fredric through the extreme left-handed doorway and into a small cubicle where two SS men armed with submachine guns and truncheons snapped to instant attention and saluted smartly at the sight of the Supreme Commander. In the floor of the cubicle was a drain hole. A water hose was attached to a spigot projecting from the wall. The concrete floor was nevertheless stained with a subtle reddish brown. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
I mean, both because of that last final detail there, gee, what would the reddish brown be? But the clinical way with which they're just like, we found the genetic females. This is a book that describes how muscly the biker boys are and how often they will touch Fredric's truncheon and just how valorous like everybody's truncheons hanging in battle is, and just it fetishizes the masculine to such a huge extent, and it's just very funny to me. The two times I've seen women mentioned in anything approaching the sexual in this book, it's been like that. You know, the pleasure sluts of Zen was the other moment that came up, and those were evil ladies you're not supposed to like.
Yeah, that's funny.
It very much reminds me of Narcissus and Goldmund, which we read for Haunt Timber, the Hermann Hesse novel, where it's the German novel where the kid goes to the monastery to be a student, and he just like is scared of women. It's almost like there's a dating back to the medieval ages traceable like pathology of inceldom that might be worth examining, or you know, I say might be worth examining, but apparently like it's what I think we've been tackling in the humanities since forever. Like,
yeah.
Jacob, it's almost like art and literature and culture has been us wrestling with what it means to be human and like a man or a woman in whatever cultural context of the time.
Yeah, we should look into it though.
Anything in between, maybe?
It's dumb.
Weird, yeah.
Or it's bad and dumb and no one needs it and it has no value or anything, you know?
Wait, but...
And I can learn nothing from reading a book. Like, books teach me nothing.
As he stepped through the doorway, Fredric found himself confronting a queue of white-faced, stricken-looking specimens. SS men armed with truncheons and submachine guns guarded this line of unfortunates at regular intervals. At the head of the line stood an SS major with a clipboard and a scriber. Behind him were two doorways. As Fredric entered, he heard this functionary dressing a grim-faced Helder at the head of the line, a decent-looking specimen by superficial appearance. It is my duty to inform you that you failed to entirely measure up to the standards of the pure human genotype. You have two options: exile from the fatherland forever, or sterilization. Which do you choose? The fellow hesitated for a moment. Fredric spied tears in his eyes. Then suddenly, Fredric's presence was noted, and everyone, SS men and sour-faced inmates alike, snapped out of party salutes and shouted, "Hail Jagger!" with a vigor and enthusiasm that left nothing to be desired. Fredric was deeply touched by such a demonstration of racial solidarity, coming as it did from those called upon to sacrifice their hope of future progeny for the good of the fatherland. A moment later, the Helder at the front of the line squared his shoulders, clicked his heels, came to attention, and replied to the SS major clearly and firmly. "I choose sterilization for the good of the fatherland." He then gave a letter-perfect party salute and marched resolutely through the right-hand doorway. 85% of the rejects choose sterilization over exile, Rimler whispered quietly in Fredric's ear. Tears of mingled joy and sadness came to Fredric's eyes, for as reject after reject marched stoically through the right-hand door to be shorn of their generative powers, he knew that before his eyes was the ultimate proof of the justice of his cause and the triumph of the swastika.
Triumph of the swastika.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just see this teary-eyed Hitler just like, they're willing to do what for me? And it's just, you know, the little slow teardrop and just like the whatever bad hair metal, like white nationalist band you can think of is playing in his head, just like shouting out the triumph of the will.
God, it's so funny.
Because that's something too. I mean, I just made a riff about it, but like I remember in the earliest days of the internet getting online and like finding out about like, oh, there's something awful, there's the GameFAQs forums, this is what 4chan is. But also there was Stormfront, like, to bring up a bit of like the superstitious and the QAnon stuff we were talking about last time, Jacob, like, I think part of the reason liberals failed to understand Alex Jones and QAnon and Trumpism 2016, all that, is because they realized, like, from the beginning, like, it's a decades-long project of, like, religious fervor, basically. Like, the white nationalism and the fascism and the resentment culture.
Yeah, these are seeds that have been sown decades ago, and we are reaping it.
John, the triumph of the swastika, according to, I guess, Fredric's thing, is just the whole Helden enterprise becoming a global order, with him, the big man, at the top. Yeah, 3-2, it's that commercial with the Native American crying, but for Hitler. Mask, did you note the Allies, including USA, left some queer people, maybe others not positive on, in concentration camps when they liberated them and they needed to finish their sentences for gay? Damn! That sucks!
What the fuck?
Yeah, I did not know much about that, Mask. I know, of course, that like queer people and, others were also put in camps. I didn't know...
If there were like extensions for them.
Yeah, that's fucked up. If you have any relevant links to that, please share.
Yeah, would love to learn more.
Jacob, I highlighted this next passage in particular because we were playing Spec Ops: The Line, and yeah, the tanks advanced swiftly across the battlefield behind a solid wall of machine gun bullets, crushing wire, trenches, foxholes, and Borgarvians beneath the massive steel treads. At point-blank range, the cannon lobbed phosphorus shells into the ranks of mutant rabble. Hundreds of crabbed creatures shambled, shuffled, ran, and crawled madly in all directions, their uniform and flesh aflame. The Vorgians in the path of the tanks began to leap up out of their positions insanely, running a few yards in a cowardly frenzy of fear, only to be mowed down by machine guns and pulped beneath the treads of the out-treading tanks. No, we don't know what war crimes are. What are you talking about? Double tapping a school? We've never seen or set precedent for anything like that before, so who amongst us is to judge,
Right, it's totally normal. You guys, come on.
The sun shone brightly over the clear waters of the Ulm as Fredric's newly polished black command car, escorted by a squad of equally spotless motorcycle SS, dashed across the Ulmgarn Bridge and into the province of South Ulmland, which only a month ago had been a mutant pestilence of Borgarvia. At his side, Boris Remler beamed with pleasure, for even at this early stage, the industry and the fanaticism of the Helder people under the direction of the SS had performed miracles towards transforming the former genetic dung heap into a wholesome province suitable for true human habitation. The border town that had been known as Pormy and was now Brighead had now simply been completely renovated. Helder engineers had completely razed the squalid huts and hovels of the Borgarvian town and laid out new streets paved with concrete in a pleasing pattern that combined a regular grid with a series of avenues radiating out from 5 great circular plazas. Many new buildings had already gone up, and scores more were under construction. The public edifices were of black stone or pink-veined marble, constructed on an appropriately grand scale and suitably embellished with gleaming bronze traceries and heroic statuary, in which the theme of continuity between the heroes of the past and the greater heroes of the swastika predominated. That's a very key sentence right now. I'm just going to reread that right there. The public edifices were of black stone or pink-veined marble, constructed on an appropriately grand scale and suitably embellished with gleaming bronze traceries and heroic statuary, in which the theme of continuity between the heroes of the past and the greater heroes of the swastika predominated. The more mundane structures were of glazed brick in cheery hues of yellow, blue, red, and green, and more of them than not boasted artfully carved wooden facades. Bridgehead already boasted several hundred Helder colonists. Then, along with the construction crews, lined streets with a half-finished model town, waving little paper swastika flags, cheering, giving impromptu party salutes, and shouting, "Hail Jagger," as Fredric's car promenaded by. It's a real Trump-Gaza situation, you know?
Truly.
Yeah, gang, so, I mean, in hyper-descriptive terms, not a lot of plot happens, but, like, after he sends the Supreme Power, he takes land to the east. They're like, oh, the Zind are gonna invade, we better invade first. And then there's a whole lot of pages describing warfare, and then a whole lot of pages describing the camps. This isn't to minimize those things, it's just, you know, I'm not here to read the whole book. We're also here to play video games, y'all. So let's get to that Medal of Honor, and we'll keep on going. We do also watch movies on the Discord. Just a reminder, this Sunday we will be watching Silence of the Sea, the Jean-Pierre Melville movie about the Nazi occupying a French farm, whose inhabitants don't want to talk to that dude, so they protest his presence by never talking to him. It's a very fun black and white movie from the 1940s. I say fun even though it's you know, fascist in theme and content, but you know, engage with the art, have fun with it. I don't mean that in a way that belittles the content. If anything, it means really, really consider it. Gang, we're gonna start a little video here as we continue on with Medal of Honor. I think it ties into the sort of ideas we've been encountering about heroism, both in Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear, Spec Ops: The Line, and as we see now here in The Iron Dream. We've been talking a lot about like fascism and individualist savior narratives, all that kind of shit these past few months. It's kind of the guiding thesis of the Toy Soldiers of Spring, it seems. Like, what is a soldier and an individual's position in the macro structure of war. But I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to start this video. I don't know much about it. I do know Aeon Magazine puts out some fun shit. I just don't often...
Not regular visitors.
They put out essays, is how I typically know them. I haven't really watched any of their video content before. I'm just going to throw this on, but if you want further info on it, it's the pinned comment in the chat. Let's go. And while this is playing, we're going to be shooting Nazis.
The first time we see Darth Vader in Star Wars, he's strangling a man to death. A few scenes later, he's blowing up a planet. He kills his subordinates, chokes people with his mind, and does all kinds of things a good guy would never do. But of course, the point of a bad guy is that he would do the kinds of things a good guy would never do. Good guys don't just fight for their own personal gain. Instead, they fight for what's right, their values. This simple moral dichotomy of good versus evil underlies not just Star Wars, but also film series such as The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, as well as most Disney cartoons. Virtually all of today's biggest pop culture narratives have the same basic structure. Good guys battle bad guys for the moral future of their worlds. And in the end, the good guys almost always win. And yet, when you look back at the history of popular storytelling, these ethical tropes don't exist in any classic folktales or myths. Stories from an oral tradition almost never have anything resembling modern good guys or bad guys, despite their reputation for being moralizing. For example, in stories such as Jack and the Beanstalk, just who exactly is the good guy? Jack is the protagonist we're meant to root for, but he doesn't have any moral justification for stealing the giant's property. Similarly, in The Three Little Pigs, neither the pigs nor the wolf use tactics that the other side wouldn't stoop to. It's simply a question of who gets to eat dinner, not a question of good versus evil. Individual folktales might show us the virtues of honesty or hospitality, but there's no general agreement among them about which actions are good or bad. When, in one story, a character might get their comeuppance for being dishonest, there is just as likely another story in which the protagonists prevail only because they deceived their opponents.
Yeah.
In the Iliad, the two teams, the Trojans and the Greeks, don't represent a clash of values in the same way that most modern war stories do. Neither Achilles nor Hector are fighting to protect the world from their enemies. Their fight is simply over which side gets to possess a beautiful woman, and thereby defend their honor.
Nice.
So, when exactly did this moral shift in our storytelling occur? And maybe more importantly, why did it ever happen in the first place? It seems that the narrative face-off between good and evil can be traced back to the early 19th century when Europeans were changing how they thought about nations. When the Grimm brothers wrote down their famous folk tales in the 1800s, their aim was to define the character of the people who told these stories. The old idea was that a country was just the land controlled by a leader, and its citizens the people who happened to live there. But the Grimm brothers, inspired by the German philosophers of their time, were working with a new concept of the modern nation, one defined by language, culture, and folklore. The purpose of their stories was not just to entertain, but also to preserve the moral character of their homeland, with antagonists portrayed as villains who attacked those morals. As the Grimm brothers' stories spread across Europe, other fabulists took note of their nationalizing power and began to write their own tales of regional folklore.
Nationalizing power,
As politicians
eh?
and armies carved increasingly permanent lines onto the global map to divide their conquered lands, storytellers helped entrench those lines with the belief that people on opposite sides of these borders had different and even opposing qualities. They worked to establish that it was broader social values and not just dinner or pretty women that were at stake in the real-life conflicts that their stories dramatized. For example, there's Robin Hood. Before Joseph Ritson's 1795 retelling of these legends, stories about Robin Hood mostly showed him carousing in the forest with his merry men. He didn't rob from the rich to give to the poor until Ritson's version, written in support of an uprising for the British working class that would be similar to the French Revolution.
Interesting.
Accordingly, the character of the Sheriff of Nottingham was transformed from a simple antagonist to someone who directly embodied the abuses of the powerful against the powerless. Or consider the legend of King Arthur. In the 12th century, poets writing about him were frequently from countries like France, because King Arthur wasn't yet closely associated with the soul of Great Britain. His adversaries were often literal monsters, rather than other humans who symbolized moral weakness. But by the early 19th century, when Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote The Idylls of the King, King Arthur had become an ideal of British manhood, one who battles characters with moral frailties rather than dragons and ogres. A telling feature of this modern shift in storytelling is that characters now change sides in their conflicts. If a character's identity resides in his values, then when he changes his mind about a moral question, he's essentially swapping sides. In Star Wars, Darth Vader changes his mind about anger and hatred, and switches sides in his war with Luke and the Rebels. Because the opposing teams each represent a set of human properties, which side Darth Vader fights on is dependent on whether it's anger or love that is foremost in his heart. Contrast this with the Iliad, where Achilles doesn't become a Trojan when he's angry at Agamemnon. Since their conflict is not a metaphor for some internal battle over morals, switching sides because of a change of heart would have made little sense to the ancient Greeks. Another peculiarity of modern storytelling is that bad guys often have no sense of empathy and routinely punish their own. Whether it's the Joker killing off his bank-robbing partners or Darth Vader killing his subordinates, these bad guys are often shown to be cavalier with human life, happy to punish their allies for even the most petty transgressions. Good guys, on the other hand, will accept anyone into their fold and are easily forgiving when the teammates act poorly. Protagonists often will work with rogues, oddballs, and rascals as long as they all share the same values. Their battles with these haphazardly crafted coalitions might even hinge on someone who was treated badly by the antagonists crossing over and becoming a good guy. Consider, for example, the rebels of Star Wars welcoming the roguish Han Solo and Lando Calrissian to their side. Now, imagine Achilles winning because his army was composed of a bunch of rejects and malcontents from the Trojans. Again, the people of the ancient world would have been baffled by such a story. Unfortunately, this modern style of narrative ends up discouraging any actual moral deliberation. Instead, it simply categorizes people according to the values they symbolize, flattening their ethical complexity into a single dimension. Either a person is for Team Good, or they belong to Team Evil.
I'm just saying.
Just what?
Well, you're American, okay?
True, Ja. It is a galaxy far, far away.
Okay. What kind of American are you?
In the real world, this kind of simple partisan thinking can lead to the embrace of otherwise unsavory characters for short-term political, moral, or ideological gains. While these good guy, bad guy narratives may harbor a diminished moral sophistication, they also promote a kind of social stability that would have been unfathomable in previous eras, one without which the modern world would likely not exist. Such stories were useful in getting people to sign up for armies and fight in wars with other nations.
Yep.
It's no coincidence that today's movies, comic books, and video games have large and impassioned fandoms. Even the word fandom suggests the idea of a nation or a kingdom. But these stories about superheroes fighting the good fight or wizards battling to save the world rarely convey real morality. Instead, they largely replace true ethical deliberation with snap judgments. The only thing they can teach us is that people on the other team are wicked, often beyond redemption.
Huh.
In fact, our enemies are so bad that we have to forgive every transgression by our own team in order to defeat these moral monsters.
That would make
Author
you
Andrea
just as
Pitzer
bad
has
as
said that
them
three
if you
inventions
were to
collided
just
to make
shoot the
concentration
Nazis.
camps a reality. Barbed wire, automatic weapons, and the belief that whole categories of people should be locked up. When we read, watch, and tell stories of good guys warring against bad guys, we are essentially persuading ourselves that our opponents would not be fighting us, and indeed, they would not be on the other team at all, if they had any loyalty or value for human life. We are convincing ourselves that they are, to their very essence, bad people. Such stories emerged from the idea that moral qualities belong to categories of people, often those who simply look or speak like each other. Perhaps we should be a bit more wary of these kinds of stories, and consider what role they may play in shaping our personal, or even our national understanding of who we consider to be our enemies. Maybe we should even turn around and think about who exactly is telling us these stories in the first place.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to subscribe to Aeon Video because of that. Once again, that's just video content from Aeon Magazine. This is making me want to pull up another YouTube thing, but before we do that, let's play the game for a bit. And then also, Elman, I'm not sure if you were here for Doom Eternal, which I think was the last time I rambled about this, but I did talk about Deus Ex Machina already. Actually, I remember this being a bit loud on recording. We're going to go down to 18. Pondering. Oh, wait. So what kind of techno-poverty are you? Yeah, are you techno-prosperity or techno-piety? Which team? This is why the gods interact with people in old myths, is basically my running theory with it. Like, sure, there's not like a contemporary psychological, like, he thought to himself, but when, like, Athena comes down to talk to Odysseus about something, or when Diomedes is possessed by the strength of Athena to, like, be glorious and seize power in battle, that is just them hyping, like, that's not just them. Like, on metaphorical and symbolic levels, there's all kinds of things you could read into this. Also, just like on mythological levels, like, these gods are synecdoches of, like, whole attitudes and style. So someone being possessed by Athena is different than being possessed by Ares, for instance. Ares is the much more chaotic, violent side of war. Athena is like all the wit and kind of like strategy and like survivalist, logistical, like rationalized reasons of war. That kind of thing. But I bring this up because, like, yeah, the Odyssey is always, you know, seen as like a Deus Ex Machina. It is a Deus Ex Machina. It is a machine from the gods. I don't think that's a cop-out, though. I think too often people, in the same way, like... Can't believe that just happened to me. I was just running back for more health and just surprised by a dude I should have killed earlier. But... Oh, there's a dude behind you. Often people will just, you know, cinema sins ding it to be like, oh, Deus Ex Machina, bad story. Oh, plot twist, bad story. Oh, I know it was, I could tell it was going to happen from the start, bad story. No. The device can still be used properly, or sometimes foreshadowing, foreknowledge is useful, or given to you for a reason. Although, I do not like the streaming series trend of just chopping up linearity for the sake of chopping up linearity. I started watching the Peacock adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand, which The Stand's a 1,000-page book. You can make a 9-episode like streaming series out of it, like pretty successfully, I think, by just going in linear order.
Yeah.
But it was just so chopped with like 6 months ago and 2 months later and a year, like it just hopping around the timeline for no real reason. Like, I recognize they were hopping around the timeline because I've read the book.
Yeah.
But I wonder, if you haven't read the book, are they trying to, like, create a sense of mystery through, like, very lazily just having the pieces out of order but, like, easy to put together? I don't know. I don't know what the ethos is for that, but like I remember this started way back with Daredevil, and it's always just been an issue for me where like streaming series is just hinged too much on like being out of order. The Marvel movies in particular do this real bad ever since post-Endgame, whenever they started the new phase of really bad, boring ones with like the Black Widow movie. I mean, the Black Widow movie being a horrible offender of this, where the chronology is just all fucked for no reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't permit you to like really get into the momentum of the drama, and so like it doesn't build plot twist reveals with emotional meaning to them. It's just kind of like plot logic meaning, like we're doing XYZ, and it reads like again a puzzle piece, a puzzle that's really easy to figure out. I gotten way off of the Deus Ex Machina of it all, though. Damn.
Got too close.
Basically, at the end of the Odyssey, when Athena comes down, she's like, "Now, Odysseus, you can stop what you're doing now, or you can continue doing this, and Zeus will punish you forever." In regards to slaughtering the parents of the suitors, remember he just killed all the suitors, and the suitors' parents have shown up, and they're all like, "We're gonna kill you now, Odysseus." And he stands up, and he's super intimidating. He scares the shit out of all of them. You know, because you've been reading the goddamn Odyssey, you're right at the end by this point, that Odysseus can just kill all these people. It's the parents and relations of the suitors. So like all the strapping young men that he killed, it's their older folks and unks, you know, just not the most suited to fight Odysseus. You know Odysseus can win this fight if he just chooses to. But, and they know it too, they know they're gonna die. This is why Athena comes down, because it's so glaringly obvious that there's divine intervention. Or it can be read as Odysseus thinking to himself. I'm very curious if Nolan's going to entertain this at all. But Jacob, Athena comes down and she's like, "Look, Odysseus, you can kill these guys if you want, but if you do that, Zeus is going to just continue to punish you as you've been tortured this whole book. Or you can not do that and everything stops here." And he's like, "Okay, I'm not going to do it." And everything stops there. And that just reads as like just ending the cycle of violence thing, like closing off the generational circuit so it doesn't loop back around, you know?
Yeah.
Our protagonist has learned, because at the beginning of the novel he didn't pull back and he taunted the giant Cyclops too much, and that's why he got cursed in the first place. It's almost like there's some sort of narrative structure going on. If you consider it a constructed object and not boil it down to just like a heroic dude fight monsters.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good observation about ancient literature. I wonder if the development of monotheism played a role in the innovation of soliloquy. God can only relate to himself when he's off screen.
I don't know specifically about soliloquy, but this is why, for instance, like John Milton, Beyond Paradise Lost has a lot of good essays in nonfiction worth reading, because he wrestled, you know, again, Paradise Lost is wrestling with like the concept of free will in the age of like the industrialism and all this stuff. And you know, he went on to write some essays wondering like about censorship, about when it's cool to kill a king, who has the right to the press. Also, like, why getting into philosophy and theology in addition to like history and like fictional like publishing and narrative history of books and writing is it's all interrelated, folks.
Yep.
I was editing something for Burns the other day, and someone on stream was mad he was watching the Pope talk about AI, and they did the Ricky Gervais angstiest. Just, why are we listening to this man? We know the sky god's not real. And it's like, cool, you solved it. You solved it, buddy.
Dude.
All the world problem. Like, if we just know.
Skyman fake.
I don't think anyone's ever considered, what if God not dead? There's no body of study out there on anything like that ever.
Yep. Never seen it. Never heard of it.
How do you okay, so like,
How do you conceive of that?
yeah, because the thing is, dude, I was that atheist teen, and like I still am pretty apathetically agnostic. Agnostic atheist, not Gnostic atheist, and I think that's a good distinction here, because like the agnostic Gnostic thing, I don't know if that's really talked about much nowadays, but I know Gnosticism, people know about that with like that's a whole other set of mythology, but like in the agnostic Gnostic sense, what I'm talking about is like, a Gnostic is like to be certain to know, agnostic, you don't know. I'm an agnostic atheist in that sense. Like, I don't know and I don't care. To be like a Gnostic atheist is to be like, there's no God and you should care, in the sense that like you have to enforce it, and like that just seems like a very, you know, getting back to Paradise Lost, satanic take on theology to me, because like it's you on an individual level just like trying to enforce something that's not going to work on an individual level anywhere else, and it also just totally ignores the literally thousands of years of influence and interplay religion has had with human civilization and society. Like, you don't have to believe in it to understand, like, the church has had an influence on how culture has developed and how, like, our thought patterns on philosophy, history, fascism, nation building, country build, just the church has been part of human history, and you have to examine that, even if you don't, like, literally believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fuck that
no,
Nazi.
God damn it. Well, hopefully that.
Well, there you go.
Touched by his newly appendage. That's right, Ja.
You know, aren't we all?
Touched by a fettuccine angel. Angel-haired pasta. Touched by an angel-haired pasta. Has that ever been done? That sounds like such easy, low-hanging fruit for like a shitty Flash animation or a bad shoop job. But yeah, I liked how that video was also just talking about and associating like the concept of nation with the construction of this good-evil dynamic narrative, because that's the other thing. Film, cinema, cinematic narrative, that language develops alongside the rise of the nation states in the early 1900s. That's why so much film history can be divided up as like, you got your German movements and your Russian movements and your Italian movements and your French movements. Again, after World War II, film was a mechanism through which a lot of European nations kind of reconstituted their cultural sense of self in ways that America, you know, America never had that hard land loss in the same way, so we get Star Wars. Not the 400 blows or bicycle thieves. Our mythology is that we're always cool, our lightsaber always works no matter how old we get. You're gonna go to Woodstock and marry a 14-year-old.
It'll be normal.
Here you go, Jacob.
Yes, sir.
What up, AR Berlin? All right, y'all. I'm going to actually queue up one more thing I shared in the Discord earlier this week that I think ties in well to this fascist conception of good versus evil. I mean, I say fascism, but really, let's get down to it. It's nationalist. And like, I don't even mean that in a like, ooh, be scared of it. Like you're inventing nations. You need a national culture. You're going to invent nationalism.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a, you know, sin of history thing. We can't go back and undo it, but we do have to look at it, Reagan, with like going forward. How do we dissolve these boundaries or reapproach these boundaries in ways that lead to better human flourishing now? Because right now, I mean, have you seen things out there?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty dire. 20 fucks. Chase me.
Oh, holy shit. Someone on our Discord just shared a photo of gas prices near them. It's like $6.29 for premium? $6.29 a gallon. Are you ready to be a public transit culture, America? Because we need to.
Best stop dreaming about a post-apocalypse. You're in one.
Right, because again, like there really is no post-apocalypse in the cinematic sense. I mean, hell, the thing we just watched was talking about how cinematic narratives just boil down moral complexity into unrealistic, unfeasible, unapplicable things. For some cultures, it's been the post-apocalypse forever, especially if you're a Native American, for instance. or like any indigenous persons in a conquered land. Sorry, I'm getting enthralled by Steak Boy's Nazi action. I think there's a healthcare right there.
God.
Did you get the one behind the vent? I always save that one to return to later.
I haven't, yeah.
Okay. All right, gang, we're gonna fire up another quick video just discussing video games, nationalism, and a bit of just everything we've been talking about here. I'm gonna turn the game back down a little.
Damn.
Just in time. This is an excerpt from an episode of Chapo Trap House where they talked with Edinger Mintum about paradox games and strategy gaming and like right-wing gamers in general. Let's just let it rip.
I do want to talk about the piece you wrote about paradox games and its place as like, Josh, what I found interesting about this article is that I think you make a pretty good case in the two substacks that you wrote on this.
Yeah.
Basically, mods for games like Hearts of Iron and Crusader Kings represent maybe the only actual cultural output of the new right. And like I think that's fascinating, like in terms of like post 2016, like we saw the rise and fall of woke. And like I think what was so, what precipitated its rather like a speedy collapse is that all of the culture it produced was deeply bad and annoying.
Yes.
And it pissed everyone off. But it seems like now that we're like in the anti-woke backlash, like being sort of, as you pointed out, like sort of now with like 19-year-old like fucking groypers with their hands on the actual levers of power, they seem to have like forgotten the part where you actually have to create culture of any kind, let alone culture that annoys or offends people.
Yeah.
But save for, and then like the other example I'm going to use here, save for mods in strategy-based map games, and then also in I don't know, like
Berlin, because
the
nationalism
incel nihilism
predicates
of
itself
this like
on a
new
scapegoat mentality
Clockwork
in which
Orange
you,
style
externalize
slang
blame,
and dialogue that I see everywhere now
historically it's
about
been
like
used to excuse
Mega
war
Chad
crimes,
Andropic has
genocide.
just landed in Arizona to challenge ASU frat leader to Jester Gooning Mog off, and it's just like I don't know, like first of all, like share with us like what are paradox games and like how did they like become to like speak to and become like kind of a cultural outlet for like the new fascist right?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like I have played paradox games. Like I think with most people have a similar story to me. I got into them by just like when I was like 13 years old. I just went on like my computer and I typed in country game where you play as country, and that led me. Yeah, I did, and it led me to Europa Universalis 3, and I played that, and I got into all of their games, and it was a very interesting thing because, like, with their company, they have this kind of pretentious view of themselves as like, oh, we're not for like casual gamers. Like they're like CFO. Like I had a quote in the article where he like insulted Call of Duty, like for being for like casual gamers, which like kind of like shows their mentality. So they were really, and it was interesting because
Lady
like
Gaga,
strategy games have always been around
Crusader
like since like the
Kings 3
90s.
and Hearts of
Civilization has
Iron
always
1.
been a huge
I've
thing.
always
I
wanted
played
to get
Civilization
back into
2.
strategy games. I just feel
That
like
was
I
the
haven't
game that I
had
was
like
into.
80
Yeah,
hours
and I
to
think you
drop
described them like
online in a
earlier on
while.
as turn-based
I
strategy
say
games. These
you know,
aren't
shit like
turn-based
that after
strategy
coming
games.
off a huge
Actually,
Death Stranding 2
the
playthrough.
turn-based strategy games were created in the turn-based region of France.
You got to pick and choose.
These are real-time. Yeah, these are.
I'm sorry, I plead ignorance here.
Yeah, no, these are real-time strategy games, and that's what makes them different because they simulate. If like Matt was on here, he'd probably know what I'm talking about, nerd ass. But like, and I mean that complimentary. I played these for like 10 years. They simulate like eras of history. So you have like Europa Universalis, which plays from like 1400 to like 1800, and it simulates the early modern period. Or Crusader Kings, and it simulates like the medieval era, or Hearts of Iron, which is World War II, and Victoria, which is the Victorian era. And it's like it creates this kind of like sort of like different thing from regular strategy games, where it's less of like a test of like strategic skill or strategic gameplay, and more just about like there's an element of historical simulation and historical pedagogy to a certain extent with the games, because you're not just like playing like a certain systems of mechanics. You're trying to role play as countries and historical periods, and do
You're trying to like within the mechanics of the game.
Yeah,
you're
there's so many
attempting to
words
kind
on
of like
screen, John.
rewrite history in
Yeah.
novel and interesting ways that appeal to you.
Yeah, it's like, what if like there was still Muslim Spain and it like colonized America and you had Muslim Americas? I did that, and I got a message saying that I created a utopia. And that was really cool. Like it's stuff like that, and that's all. And what's interesting about it is that they like when they started like there's this whole complicated corporate history with them that like I like go into in the article. But what's interesting is like around the start of the early 2010s, I consider it to be like a really like the golden age of like innovation in gaming. They would often leave money on the table and attempt to simulate games as granularly and as detailed and as good of a simulation as possible. Like they were publishing games on the basis that like expecting them not to make a profit because they thought they would be like very innovative for the genre. So there's this sort of like perspective that and it's very interesting just how this happens to work. The more like they end up at simulating stuff in greater detail, the more it kind of fits with like a left-wing view of history based on like material conditions and like
and I think
stuff
one of the
like
interesting
that.
things you bring up in the in terms of like why this is so appealing to the new right or whatever you want to call them, the fascist right, is that like in the game mechanics, it's basically like internal divisions within countries, or like strife of any kind, or differing political or cultural points of views within countries as a whole don't really exist, and history is seen as these kind of like existential zero-sum conflicts between cultures and religions, and not like a more material view of history.
That was specifically the case only for a particular era of game development. Because with Victoria 2 and to a smaller but similar extent Crusader Kings 2, you had the countries were divided, like the countries were collections of different entities. In Victoria, your country was a collection of your population. It was a very novel and innovative attempt to simulate every person on Earth during the Victorian era, and every person had their own material satisfaction level and ideology that was based on like their material conditions and their income and their needs and their demands, and that's how they simulated a world economy. In Crusader Kings, the countries were broken down into feudal polities where most of the action, a lot of the action came within the country where people of similar cultures kind of like feuding and fighting against each other, although there was the element of religious wars that were central to the gameplay that you could get from the name. What happens it happened specifically in the middle 2010s when they start realizing they can make a lot of money off of these things. Processing power for the kinds of games they want to create isn't really there. Victoria 2 was a really big, buggy mess that kind of failed at what he was trying to do. But so they kind of move in the direction of really simplifying and abstracting things, and that really takes its like biggest the biggest leap in that direction is in Europa Universalis 4, where at the start of the game and up until like the very late end of the development cycle, like internal divisions within countries aren't really a thing. Every country has a set of like rigidly defined, immovable cultural characteristics. Those are the really only differences between different like tags or countries that you play as. And the World War II game, which is by far their most popular game, hugely influential, takes that to an even greater extreme where there is like politics there. Like there are 3 levels of political divisions in any given country. It's communist, capitalist, fascist, and non-aligned. There's not even an effort to simulate like domestic internal politics. There's not really an economy that's represented outside of production you have for like military capacity. Like any money that you spend on what's called civilian goods is basically wasted. Like you only do better in the game the more you can transition to a full-on war economy and make more tanks that they give you elaborate tools to design. And these are like the kinds of things that like this is what people my age, all of the Trump administration officials who are still they're like serving in the White House as like a dual enrollment program at their high school. Like that's that's what they. This is what
you're getting class credit for running the FDA.
Yeah, you get college credits if you run like Medicare. It's like a pretty deal. You can graduate a semester early. It's pretty sick. But that's what these people were raised on, and I say this at the outset of the article. I have played these games. Like it's just like I've always enjoyed them, and there is a huge left-wing community in these games. That's always been the case. You'd expect it, given that like the primary market are like younger political extremists. And if you're a left-wing person, and I would say in my case, I was able to fully enjoy Europa Universalis 4, even though recognizing it presented a fundamentally conservative view of the world. I was able to suspend my disbelief and like recognize it was an abstraction and enjoy it for what it was. I consider it to be great right-wing art, like Shark Tank. or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like that kind of thing you can enjoy while recognizing that it's not like a perfect political representation.
That's what we said.
Right wingers
Commando.
don't really get this. They really start looking at these games like as real representations of real history as it actually happened. And it creates this kind of worldview among younger right wingers when they previously would have been kind of like indoctrinated by their local church or by like free market college groups. I would say like TPUSA in its early years was an example of that. They take like this very literally militaristic perspective. Their understanding of history is shaped around the idea of immutable cultures, zero-sum wars, just like conflict is the main thing that every state kind of leads to. And
well, this is how you get the subset of like, you know, I was a history major. Obviously, like that was always my best subject, and I'm somebody, you know, like a nerd and a political sicko. So like that's naturally where you gravitate to. The subset of people who are interested in young men who are interested in history is young men who are into military history.
Yes,
and that is just a like that is the easy pass lane
I think that's
to becoming a
way
Nazi.
to get, like,
And that's how you get things like I don't know what's that like that the Roman helmet guy account on Twitter who's like the Roman Empire fell because of welfare, and it's just like what?
Yeah, and he's like,
or it fell because of mass immigration. Like, what? No, it fell, but it took 800 years for that to happen.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
But like with him, that guy's like 40 years old or something. I don't know how old he is. Like he looks like a person of the millennial persuasion, is what I'll say. To be that kind of guy, that took a lot of fucking effort. You had to like read books. You had to like read slop shit. You had to like kind of not be interested in history in a way that life revolved around it, but not actually a history major that would learn about it in a meaningful way.
There you go.
Like those guys always existed, but like you had to like really dedicate yourself to being a Roman helmet guy. Paradox Games made anybody like under the age of like 20 for like 10 years able to be a Roman helmet guy. Like they get this understanding of history, and I would say part of it is that you actually can learn a decent bit of history from these games by playing them, just like basic facts and figures about what country was where and what religion came up at what time. It's not like they're totally useless slop. You can learn things.
The problem is that like they think it's a blueprint for how like that's predictive of the future, that like charts some course for like the present day in a way that is still a video game.
Yeah, and
Assassin's Creed, Lady
way
Gaga,
ahead of something
honestly,
like
the fan base kind of icks me before I ever played any of the games,
because
they just seem their own kind of history
or
to me.
like religion,
Right, and it was
that
fun,
way isn't.
because again,
and you can start seeing as early like as around like 2019, like there are huge flashpoints between the kinds of young right-wingers who were raised on this stuff and someone like Charlie Kirk, who was much more of a traditional...
He was a church kid. He was a stoop kid. He wasn't in the streets.
But no, Charlie Kirk actually, like the thing with him that I find fascinating, he didn't really get into the religion stuff until after, like, he was harassed by Nick Fuentes and, like, all of his
those things.
He actually, I found an interview.
I think it was like Russian female pilots in World War II.
He said, like, I think, I don't know,
what they're called. They're like the Banshees or something, but they were only
certainly know the name.
Which one? And like they were given like old gear because men didn't like them because they were women, so they felt like fuck you. But they were doing like the coolest missions and terrifying Nazis every single day.
I know. He was like big like 10 years ago. He has like a beard. Fuck. Oh, they all have beard. Damn it.
Steven Crowder?
No. But he was talking to one of those types, and he explicitly said, I don't view myself as a religious right person. I think that the religious right alienated a lot of young people by being too like demanding. And I found his like RNC speech, like where his RNC speech in 2016, he talked about how Republicans were actually the diverse party, and that the Democrats only ran like crusty-ass white people during their primaries.
Yeah, famous nuke advocate Gandhi in Civilization.
So like he like kind of was like trying to be like this socially moderate, like physically conservative type thing. And that does not jive at all with a lot of these younger kids, like these actual college kids at these campuses he's trying to go to. And like, so Nick Fuentes gets into some fucking feud with him over some dumb bullshit about like Michelle Mankin or something. Michelle Manchin, like whatever the fuck her name is.
Michelle Malkin.
Yeah, Michelle Joe Manchin, like that lady. And he like said, he like just kind of very self-aggrandizingly said, I'm starting the first Groyper War. It wasn't called the first Groyper War. It was called the Great War. It was only called the first Groyper War after the second Groyper War. like he just like tries to command a personal army to like harass like Charlie Kirk like on every college campus.
Shit.
And the thing is that like this generation of college kids are
right
willing
there
to
at
do
the
that.
end.
Like there are a lot of like weird
Don't worry,
shut-ins.
I'll die
They
soon,
totally
probably.
dominate the TPUSA debates. I think at like UCLA, where like you'd expect a lot of like Latino young Republicans to be, to a certain extent. Like in California, he does an event with Trump Jr. and it has to be canceled early because the crowd is so
All right, I'm gonna
angry
go
and
read
rowdy
some what
towards
Jara
him.
was saying earlier.
And I think that is like really an early sign of like kind of the youth level that there was something going on in like their kind of historical pedagogy and like their internal political culture that made them vastly different from like the usual kind of like Goldwater teens that we used to be used to of being the only representation of like young right wing.
Oh yeah,
like
thanks, Ja, about the
Onion
alternate
article
history
about,
stuff.
like,
Honestly, I've been
right
meaning
wing
to read
having
more
a
alternate
lock on
history.
young
Before the
people who
Iron
look like
Dream,
old
I think
men.
the only thing
Like,
I
that
really
used to
read
be
is
the
Philip
only-
K. Dick's
Yeah.
The Man in the High
But like these
Castle, which I
paradox
really
games
like
that really
as well.
oriented themselves in this way because it, like I would say really because these weren't right wing developers. These were all like liberals like in like Sweden. I think a socialist magazine in Sweden reached out to me. They said that they work in like one of the most typically bougie like kind of like parts of Stockholm. I remember very vividly in like 2015 they like published some like Women of History DLC that everybody hated, and they responded to it by making it, yeah, they did. They responded to it by making it was so the only DLC you couldn't turn off. Like they were like these are like kind of woke-ish type people, and they just kind of designed their games around like certain like technical limitations of the time, but it ended up really giving this like a generation of like young history obsessed men this very like kind of, I would say, fascistic view of the world that's starting to bleed out in like how they approach everything. Because the aesthetics of like fucking like all the fash wave edits and all the
I
stuff
wonder
they
how
post
much of the
online,
stim push
a lot of that
pushes
comes
into
from
that
like
too, as far as
Hearts
like
of Iron 4
just
modding
everything
culture.
is math.
Like that's where a lot of it originates.
Dude, right.
You know, if it doesn't fit on a spreadsheet,
That's all there
that
is
thing's
to this.
problem. It's not
Like
a
there
bad
isn't some
formula.
like greater
Yep, we
fucking
need
larger
math.
philosophical like grand scheme going on. This is just like a bunch of kids who like got into this instead of like fucking playing those like hentai porn games all day, and like there's
The Mike Johnson porn monitoring app.
Yeah,
Turn it
there's
into a
no-
game with your dad.
Yeah, exactly. There's no there. Is
Yeah,
what
were
like
you
I was really
cracking
trying to
it
get
too?
across with this because their mods fucking suck. They have made mods. Their mods suck ass.
Well, what do the mods do? Like, do they let you like? I mean, I assume it's just so that like Hitler can win World War II or the Confederacy wins the Civil War. Like, but can't you do that in the base game already?
Yeah. Well, what the mods do, like in Hearts of Iron, where like the really biggest ones are, is that the biggest mods, the real big brand name ones, they totally convert the starting situation into something totally new. So like the base game, it starts in 1936. It has a world map of that. If you made it like the really famous one, there's a mod where Germany wins World War II. That one starts you in 1962 with a world map that's changed as a result of Germany. It puts you in a new setting with totally new content, and you play in that new world. And like, so it's like they're basically creating their own games using the game engine. So like you have people, and I would say myself included, who never played base game Hearts of Iron 4, but have actually spent like a lot of time playing these worlds that have been created by modders. And the right wingers have took like it, historically, because for some reason all the actually smart and like capable people always happen to be left leaning. All the mods were run by left wingers, and right wingers complained about it constantly. But they couldn't create their own fucking they couldn't create their own mods because they sucked at it and they couldn't
That
manage
surprises
it.
me.
Yeah, it's shocking. I was really but they created their own mod like a year or so ago that's set like in a world like it's set in 2024, of course, because they don't have any like fucking like framework outside of what is like immediately in front of them. And it's a world where COVID is really bad and a lot more people die of COVID than usual. This causes political instability. And the U.S., of course, because like this is the only way to make the U.S. interesting in their mind, falls into a second civil war. And there's all these wacky ideologies that you can play as. Like you can play as communists in California. They're led by, like, I would say, like friend of your show, Mike Preisner. He's the leader of that faction. But it just so happens that all of the content that they actually provide are for obscure Nazi sects. They have like half a dozen fully realized fucking paths for this. And it's boring as shit. It sucks. Like, it's bad gameplay. It's bad writing. They plagiarize shit constantly. And it's just, like, that was something that made me realize, like, there's nothing going on here. Like, they have a Dark Brandon path. They have a path where fucking... They have a path where Gunther Feelinger can take over the EU and invade Russia. It's just
Oh, come on.
sog.
Oh. I guess like this is a segue into the last thing I want to talk about today, which is like in terms of a culture in which there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just empty. I guess we have to talk about Clavicular and the ongoing Mog War, and like I don't even really know where to begin with this because it's so like there's nothing to put your arms around. Like I've compared it to Clockwork Orange. There's also something like distinctly medieval about it, where it's like the biggest peasant from your region of Burgundy like wanders over to the next village and just like stares at another large man. This is described it as sort of like cryptid sightings, but just like there's the language of the gooning and the maxing and the mogging and all this shit. Like there's a certain narcotic effect where like last weekend when all this shit was like it's just like in the span of about a week, like I just see like all these accounts that like just are like aggregate what's going on Kick streaming, and they're all bizarre. It's just like they're like it's other language like the Orlando Asian Mogger like is bequeathed by
the Elden Ring character.
Like, it's just like the Mogger. They're sort of like you're knighting another Mogger or something. And like for about a weekend, Catherine and I tried talking to each other in that sort of style, and it was fun. But I really I had to stop myself from doing it because I was like, nope, this is evil. I'm not going to be seduced by it. But
they're letting me join the East Asian co-Mogger sphere.
Yeah.
and like the other like sort of linguistic innovation, like it's very rare that the right wing is able to like incept like slang or a kind of culture into like the broader mainstream, and like this would be an example of them successfully doing it. Is the way in which people now say, instead of saying I'm stressed out or I have anxiety or something, they say my cortisol is spiking.
Yeah.
And like when I think about Clavicular as a person and what he represents as this idea that you can kind of like biohack yourself through crystal meth and steroids to like look like Matt Bomber from White Collar, so that you can like not have sex with women but be thought of as a guy who has sex with women in your competition with other attractive men who you look at as you still like hit your health in the head with a hammer. I just like it's sort of like the idea of like people don't have thoughts or feelings anymore. They have chemical reactions in their bodies that can be like either it can be hacked in some way. You know, and it's this deeply anti-human way of looking at the world and existing in it.
I think it's very interesting because like when I was younger, when I was like the age of the people who are now watching this stuff, people predicted that that men would in the future get the same like body complexes that women got from women's magazines, but they would get
absolutely.
It from the internet. And the first guy who was sort of this mold, there were a lot of ascendant bodybuilders on the internet around this time. There were guys like Rich Piana who were like more funny, but represented someone who you didn't exactly want to look like, but you could get some
Speak for yourself, Felix.
Yeah, I mean, every woman wants a guy like that. But Rich was always very interesting to me because he was very
there's a
open.
humanity to him that made him so interesting, but like that's completely devoid.
Specifically that he said, "Oh, I become this big because I can't be like a life swimmer. I don't have that type of body, and I would give anything to have that type of body, but I can't. So I just have to do this." But he was still very positive, and I always think of like the precursor to all this was Ziz. People who have been around for a while will recognize that name, but he was an Australian bodybuilder, and again, his main thing was his catchphrase was "We're all going to make it," and he was much more. He didn't look as freakish as like Rich Piana or Craig Goliath, and he was a very aspirational figure for a lot of people. He loved partying, like doing Molly. And I think it's so interesting that it went from, you know, Ziz's "we're all going to make it" to this broad cultural pessimism. And Ziz was, as optimistic as he was, he did represent the swing in this of men going from fantasizing about like stupid shit like stopping school shootings or like, you know, disarming a bank robber with like something in a Jet Li movie to like fantasizing about being perceived and desired in the same way that like sexually trafficked traditionally female models were.
Yeah.
that I think is incredibly interesting in how it coincides with like a broader pessimism among young people. That there's no future, there's no heroism, there's no point in fantasizing about stopping a mass shooting, and the only thing you can achieve is like other people thinking that you've achieved perfection.
Not only that, there's
Lady
also,
Gaga's
as
Apprentice,
Clavicular himself has said multiple times,
Yeah.
most recently on the Adam Friedland show.
Agreed.
There's also absolutely no point in getting laid with a beautiful woman because, in his words, it's a waste of my time.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that. Why have sex? You're just going to revert to a state of not having sex when you're done. It's like you didn't. It's like you didn't do it. The Mormons are the only people who tried to solve this with soaking, but eventually you have to like go to the bank or something.
I guess like there is something. I mean, like against my better judgment, there is something funny to me about his nihilism. Like Josh, you wrote about his appearance on his interview with Michael Knowles that I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
because when he said JD Vance is fat and Gavin Newsom mogs, but there's a line from that interview. I forget what the context is. Maybe you can remember. But he says to Michael Knowles at one point, "I don't care. It's just another person to mog." And like for some reason, like
he's like that
phrase has just been stuck in my head. Yeah,
he's like from the old west.
Let me tell you, buddy, there's a faster gun coming over yonder when the morning comes.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and it's just like like there's always someone out there that's going to outmog you. There's always someone that has a square jaw. And I've said this before about like the manosphere, and this is really like I think a novel and strange mutation of the manosphere, but it is all under like a larger philosophy and rubric of ensconcing young men in a totally hopeless world.
Yeah.
And this idea that there is no way out of like genetic destiny save for leg lengthening surgery. Hitting your fucking face with a hammer, which heretofore was something you would see in Looney Tunes cartoons to illustrate the mental instability of the person.
Well, okay. When did they hit themselves in the head with a hammer? When they saw a hot woman.
Exactly.
They were like, "Oh, I forgot to do this earlier. Maybe if I get some harder hits in now, the micro fractures will make my jaw better."
Yeah, it's an ancestral. I will say the thing with like what Phil was talking about the Zen. I think that's further proof, and sadly, unfortunately, that millennials are the only ensouled generation out there.
Facts.
Facts. I have like the thing in my brain, like the chip they put in your brain if you were born after 9/11.
Yeah,
where I watch all
these
like I see all these headlines, and I somehow like understand it, like instinctively, and I find it very compelling.
It's a really
like I want to know more about the ASU frat leader. I was very compelled by hearing that he wasn't actually in a frat. Like this is character development. This is like Breaking Bad.
Who's the South African guy? He's like Androgic or something. He's Androgic has landed and is looking for ASU frat leader. It's like the Terminator. Like, and it's just like they're like they just need to like they're streaming all the time, and they're just like they wait until they walk into the physical proximity of another mogger, and then they mog each other.
You know how millennials mogged each other? By having the most maroon denim. By having the biggest Django hat.
By having
and it was friendly competition.
The stupidest dogs.
But,
we're like
Felix, your point about how this is
all
all just like giving men the same complexes about their appearance that the fashion industry has done to women. And like when I see these guys hitting themselves in the chin with claw hammers, to paraphrase Kevin Durant, what are we doing to our beautiful kings?
Yeah,
like this is terrible. This is terrible. And then like I don't know, like I can't confirm this, but the fact that like there are intimations that Peter Thiel has funded Clavicular, I was like,
this is one
investment. No, he hasn't. He invited Clavicular to a party, and Clavicular seemed to very wisely turn him down. I think that he, despite his pessimism, wants to live another 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't want to find himself tumbling off of the skyscraper. The only thing I saw was that this guy who just dubbed himself as P gifted Clavicular a lot of money.
Okay.
But there are freaks like that in every fucking
I guess I was so ready to believe that because I think he embodies and represents Peter Thiel's view of humanity and the world so perfectly.
Yeah. He doesn't need to pay him.
Someone I forget who made this joke, but like it would make sense if Peter Thiel invested in Clavicular and this whole sort of bone smashing aesthetic, because that way, when a sort of a beautiful young rough trade is scraped off the pavement at the bottom of a large condo in Miami, and the medical examiner says that there's evidence that they've been hit in the face with a hammer prior to being thrown out of a window. There's a plausible explanation for why that happened.
Ooh.
This is such a criminal intent episode.
Nice. Great.
I would love to see Goran interrogate Peter Thiel
feeding
and
the wolves by talking about
I
it.
think Clavicular would get the better.
You say
of it.
Barney's
I think
name
my
is 3
favorite thing
times in
about
the mirror.
Butler
She
was
eats your
that
food.
moment on like his
That's
interview
true.
with Adam when he said he didn't know who Zoran was.
Yeah.
That was
He's like, I could give a fuck.
yeah. He didn't believe him. He sounded like DMX when they asked him about
Yeah, when he was talking about Obama. Yeah.
his name is fucking Barack. His mom
Yeah.
named him. There ain't no fucking Barack. He was right. It is a weird. I think just to be like the voice of Gen Z for a moment, I think that people kind of take what he does, like he has said before that like he makes up new slang to get engagement because there is kind of like I think he is cognizant that people do see him as kind of like a zoo animal, and that like the more he kind of plays into the idea that he's like super crazy and weird, the more interested they'll be. I think that was absolutely the case of what happened with the Knowles interview, which I was shocked that everybody really took it as seriously as they did, because he was clearly fucking with him.
Yeah, he was just fucking with him. That's why I thought it was really funny.
Like he was joking, like he was doing a self-conscious parody of his own worldview, and then fucking like Michael Knowles
bet it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, he was like, "Do you like Trump? Do you support Trump? Do you support our fucking agenda? Do you support the project, the vision?" It's like, come on, man. I felt so bad for him because Clavicular obviously didn't want to like back down, but he was like forced like into this argument where he was like, "Yeah, I'm actually an accelerationist. I don't want JD Vance to be like elected because I want things to get worse. So we elect a real right winger." And like this plays into a lot of like the right's mythology that they're only losing like youth support because like all the Hearts of Iron 4 playing Zoomers are disillusioned that they haven't caused the day of the rope yet. So he like, yeah. So like
all the kids I'm not allowed to talk to anymore are so right wing.
That's a huge
Parents have orders of protection against me.
That's a huge fucking thing. Like you always see that on right wing Twitter. Like, yo, those teenagers I saw in like at the gym today.
Oh, the guy who was like, I overheard these kids in a locker room talking, and you wouldn't believe how based they are.
Yeah, they're talking.
He said, I'm Lindsey Graham compared to the kids I'm overhearing in a men's locker room.
It's got me like Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
I forgot the account who was doing it, but it was like an account that was more or less openly a Nazi, and they were like, "Oh, these teenagers I'm eavesdropping on, you wouldn't believe how freaking based they are."
God,
awesome.
That could have gone so fucking crazy on 2017 left Twitter. You like,
yeah.
That's why it's so funny, because they like we've talked about it a billion times how they're living through their long 2017.
Yeah,
this is the same. This was a left flop style post where it's
The
like,
long
I just
2017.
substituted a middle school class and they were all talking about the means of production.
yeah. No, the kids are all
I thought
right.
the kids at the lemonade stand about how there's no such thing as unskilled labor.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe they wanted to kill their parents, who they called their landlords.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's they are, I'd say a 5-year long 2017 right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm excited for their
grenade.
2019.
Who's going to be their Hannah Gadsby?
Huh,
Well,
surprised you didn't get blown up just like you.
we have talked about how there's going to be a conservative Nanette where like a guy goes, I don't want to do comedy anymore because like my wife's divorcing me and I have to kill our family so we can make it to heaven. But
the one step I think that they've got in there, this is the thing that has driven me fucking mad, is like the veneration of Sky King.
All right, well.
You dropped that.
Oh, we just talked about,
You dropped
Somebody
that.
was throwing grenades
I like how when you
crazy
look
there.
up Richard
must have dropped
Russell,
the
he's the
second one, I
first
think.
person who shows up.
oh yeah, it is weird that he has the same name as LBJ's Peter Thiel.
Yeah, and he has better SEO than him, so like you blocked all those bills for nothing. But yeah, there were like members of Congress posting about like Fly High Sky King. This is a guy who abandoned his family, and like I would say the biggest fucking crime, he fucking defrauded Alaska Airlines. He did disservice to the stakeholders of that company. And that's not how a Western man is supposed to live.
The Bush administration would like subject the next 7 generations of this man's family to eternal servitude.
Yeah.
To the Alaska Airlines Corporation.
Yeah, because that's when we were a real country. That's when we had a real right. We cared about that. But yeah, I mean, like venerating him, that is really not one step away from venerating family annihilators. So, like that could be the conservative Nanette. I think somebody
really
like last night compared their Super Bowl halftime show to as a form of right wing Nanette. It's just something they're forced to for political reasons.
Right, and that's how you knew that woke was breathing its last breath, when there was this unspoken assumption that we all have to like Nanette and be like, this is good. Yeah. This is good, actually. I'm glad comedy is like this now.
Do you remember when at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, the podcast
when he was
comedian?
My fellow conservatives, I'm imploring you to watch Nanette.
Back during the Riyadh comedy
That's
thing, when all the
awesome.
right wingers
That's how Ronald Reagan was
to that
like half the
festival
time whenever
in
the
Saudi Arabia.
He would have
I
hired
can't remember
Nanette
which
to,
podcast studio it was. He had a comedy set that he just bombed.
And you know what?
Well, yeah,
he won 49
he got serious
states.
about nuclear arms control after we watched that
Louisiana.
fucking TV movie.
Yeah.
From Louisiana.
Yeah, but you know what? They did compromise like that. And they won 49 states, so maybe they should have listened to Seth Mandel. So maybe there's something there.
He's the dude JV
I would have
and
voted
JD
for
Vance
Trump
on,
if
be
they
like,
were
what are you
like-
doing about Palestine?
I would give him
He's
the
like,
money
like
that
the
you
wars are
give
trashy.
him,
He's like, yeah, man, it sucks. Like he wouldn't
on
actually
the
push him on
expectation
anything.
that you're going to be pardoned, but not because
Like a Theo
I'm
Von
seeking a
type?
pardon
Theo
or
Von,
seeking
yeah,
one for anyone in my
okay,
family,
Theo Von.
just to secure a personal guarantee from
He's also
Roger
a crazy
Stone
Nepo
that
baby.
he will watch
Oh, I didn't have
Nanette
the Nepo
and
baby
record
part.
Dude, he comes from
Yeah.
royalty.
What if he loves
bullshit.
it?
Like it's
That
insane.
I could see
the
him
Nepo
doing,
baby
I could see him
is
getting
of him.
weirdly
He's also
weepy about it.
45.
Yeah.
Where
I hear him talk about any of this shit in the way
she's
he
a
does.
tough
It's
lady.
like, wow,
She
you're
had
Yeah,
a hard
she's a
life.
tough lady. This is a tough cookie.
Switch to a vid from the prior
That's
career.
what
You talking
Tuck's
about
done
another
before.
Aeon one job?
And also,
After
Pablo
this one, I was
Picasso,
going to
he
switch
was
to the game in
problematic
full, but
because
did
he
you find
opposed
something
fascism.
Aeon
Yeah.
posted intriguing, fascinating?
because of his
within
awful painting Guernica,
the
which, was a
line
libel.
of what's the video?
Yeah.
Send it, and I'll look
I
at
think
it
to
over
add
break
for an
and
optimistic
consider it
note
for sure.
before we all get bombed with nuclear hellfire, I think that the conservative Nanette is yet to come, and we'll know it when it happens.
Well, yeah, we do have conservative Lizzo in Jelly Roll, but that's another matter entirely.
You're also putting him in movies.
And Tulsa King, much to my chagrin.
Ugh.
Gel Heroes and Tulsa King.
God.
Nobody look at my YouTube Rex.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
All right, Joe, we're going to solo the game for a bit, but yeah, send the link and I'll check it out over break time. Only we had weapon wheels, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's kind of difficult about the way I'm trying to use the grenades, because they're very good to throw out to get you to run out or to like disrupt their animations so they're no longer aiming at you.
Yeah. That's what I've ultimately used them for. Is like, I need you here.
But then like the rocket launchers were right next to them and it's like, damn. How?
Bastards.
It is interesting to me because I believe this is the final mission, and it is like a dive of attrition. Like, we're learning placements. It's about just really getting the encounters done right, if that makes sense. Because all the objectives you check off of the box right at the end. Something like that. Damn it. I'm also trying to save the RPG for that gauntlet at the end. John, looking through Aeon's other videos as well, and I think a while back I watched their Why Do We Love Morally Flawed Characters essay, but I'm on their page right now. Damn. Oh, I see you linked something in the chat. Okay, I'll check it out. Again, once I die, I think we'll go to break after this. It's getting about that time. I don't want to repeat last time where we rudely just cut out before break. I want to send you to break kindly.
Right, we like you. We love you, techno hotties and thotties.
Okay. Grenade.
Nice.
Second grenade. Not gonna do a third. Cool. Technology flattens our humanity. Yeah, you're right, Josh. Sometimes it creates symbols and meaning in ways we don't intend. Alright, this is an appropriate time to run back and get all this stuff in that cache room. I don't want to create too large a run back. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for peeking through the wall, bud.
We really appreciate that.
Really appreciate that, pal.
We love your intrigue.
Oh. Why were you there? Okay, we still got health over there. This is a good spot to grenade, if I remember right. Oh, there's a dude behind me, though. Thank you, box corner. Fuck. Thank you, box corner. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Thank you, box corner.
We appreciate it.
Oh shit. hate that the game spawns dudes behind you for no reason.
Yep. Nice. Ooh, damn. Nice. Get that son of a bitch.
There's a scientist over here that might really screw me up if I'm not careful, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this guy fucked me earlier. Nice.
Wait. Whoa. All right, Ja, we will take a look at this one when we get back from break. Also, yeah, the grenades seem to like blow up on impact if you do it right and just like throw them at them, you know?
Yeah, that's nice.
Careful with those explosive barrels right there. All right, gang, we're gonna take a break. Stand up, stretch, smoke them if you got them. Be nice to your skeleton. Sip some tea, although that one's empty. How dare you not serve me, Jacob?
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
We'll be right back.
There you go. Let's
See you
wrap
soon.
it.
I was going to do some housekeeping and talk about upcoming programming and what we're doing next, but so much relies on if we beat Medal of Honor tonight. So you know what? Let's watch this YouTube, lock in, here with friends. We're gonna see, this is Technology Flattens Our Humanity, Artists Deepen It. This is another Aeon video. We kicked off tonight's session watching one video from Aeon Magazine, and we're starting with the second. You know what, before we start that, I don't know, well, we'll see what happens with Medal of Honor. We're not finishing the Iron Dream. I still have more of the Iron Dream tonight, but the next book is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front. I believe I mentioned that before. Just a heads up about that. We'll see what our next session game is, depending on what happens if we don't lock in here. So, Jacob, I'm just gonna lock in on the game. I'm just gonna hit play on this video. We're gonna learn some stuff. We're gonna shoot some Nazis. Ja, thanks for bringing up the video. I'm more than happy to take suggestions over time. Of course, the book gaming combo stuff, we have we program that. It's hard to change that around at a whim, unless, you go on Patreon, give us a lot of money. But otherwise, I'm happy to take YouTube videos at suggestion. Let's always do that. That's part of the conversation here. We play the games, we read the books, you bring other context, we bounce it off each other. All right, let's get back to Technopoverty.
Let's
Heidegger wants to use the word technology to talk about our uniquely contemporary way of experiencing the world.
Everything is interconnected, everything is exchangeable, and all meaningful distinctions have been gotten rid of, except this one sort of empty distinction, to be efficient and optimized. And you see it all over the place. We're so used to it that we don't even notice it. That's what great philosophers are supposed to do, is help us see what's going on in our understanding of being.
Efficiency demands a kind of standardization. You have a few ways that you become very, very good at, and then you repeat them over and over and over and over and over again.
You have these sort of frightening subdivisions that you see as you drive in from the airport usually, where all the houses on the side of the hill are the same shape, the same color. They just discovered that's the most efficient way to build a house, and they just build them all that way, and everybody manages to live that way, and so everything is totally standardized. Everything is just resources to be optimized.
The most efficient way to feed people is to have a few ways of doing it, and then you impose it everywhere. The most efficient way to make a broad range of goods available to everybody is to do it on a big scale, like Walmart does, and make everyone indistinguishable and have everything organized and efficiently laid out.
It's just to get the world as organized as possible and to bring more and more into this total organization. It's really systems thinking. Everything's a system. The airplane is no longer an object when it's sitting on the runway. It's a cog in the transportation system. And you might think, well, at least you're going to be there to either take the plane or not take the plane. But no, the tourist industry has been set up to make you a filler of this potentiality for running around that's on the runway. And why will people go? Just to get a rest and get more energetic so that they can plunge back into the rat race, in which they're all replaceable. They're just doing some job efficiently, and if somebody comes along and does it more efficiently, they can be replaced.
One of the dangers of technology is it relieves us of the burden of having to develop skills. Technology is always sold as a labor-saving device.
Tommy knockers knocking at the door.
When you buy the latest technology for cooking, the promise is that you can cook as well as a master without any of the skills the master has. And that goes for everything, with music as well.
Thank you so much,
all
Boxes.
of us now today can enjoy music of a quality unimaginable to most people in the history of the world in the comfort of our homes with very little cost and very little effort. That's a great promise. And who would give up on that pleasure of hearing music in that way? But the danger is that we give in to the seductions of technology to the degree that we lose all of these skills.
The internet is actually a much better example, because what the internet is doing is it's basically transforming all reality into information.
Everything on the internet is equal. You can have the most important information right next door to the most trivial. You can find out on Twitter what your friends had for breakfast, and you can find out also that there were 100 people killed in Iraq that day with Google and find anything, and you can go in Wikipedia and get any facts about anything. And that in a certain way is terrific if you just use it for something relevant. But if you think that that's just the best thing in the world, just to have more and more information, more and more transformable stuff, more and more applications for your iPhone that make it able to do more and more things, and that's just what it's all about, everything gets leveled. There's no meaningful differences anymore between what's important and not important, what's trivial and what's crucial, what's relevant and irrelevant. It's all reduced just to more information.
If you want to really be efficient, you don't want this kind of interference that, hey, this is Sunday, or this is Christmas, something you have to stop that. Or this is the middle of the night, what do you think you're doing? No, 24/7 is one of the great achievements of our civilization. Some things go on all the time, available all the time, and it's very handy.
That can be
3 o'clock in
cool.
the morning, I rush to my computer and I can Google, and nobody's going to say to me on the screen, "This is not available. This page is not available because you're supposed to be sleeping." No, they're going to give it to me. So it's absolutely great. I benefit from it.
That would be
myself,
funny if
see.
websites shut down at times.
What you're
because
doing
just like,
is making us look
energy
at
cost,
time as something that is infinitely usable and extensible. Doesn't matter when it is, I can access. As against being forced back into understanding that there are times that are just different, that have a different quality. It's not appropriate to use them in this way.
And it's true that it changes us. So we have to become the kind of people who are satisfied with the sort of commodities that are delivered to us. You could imagine people who really are connoisseurs of jazz music, who really understand that one of the great things about jazz music is the way the musicians are responding to the performance hall and the audience and the particular musicians that are there and the weather and whatever accidents are happening. The jazz musicians are incorporating it into their performance.
Responding to the other musicians is one of the most important things.
In playing together, you'll hear that in the music, where the piano will play something, the bass will react, and the drums are playing, and then the trumpet will jump in. You're interacting with everything. Everything is a part of what you're trying to get to. Anything can change what's happening. If a cell phone goes off, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, the cat might make fun of it on the piano, or even on the trumpet, or whatever it is, and it all becomes a part of the performance.
And if you, as a listener, are a skillful listener and have the bodily dispositions to pick up on that, you'd never be satisfied by listening to a recorded jazz performance on CD, because that's not the performance that would be optimal for your bedroom or living room. But technology makes us also the sort of flexible people who are satisfied with a sort of cheap imitation of all the goods that deeply skillful practices deliver.
Somos artistas demostradores, somos artistas de sello propio, y somos artistas de sentimiento, y somos artistas de creadores de nuestra trascendencia.
I've heard that flamenco artists have a deep aversion to even being recorded for this very reason, that they have just an intuitive sense that recording them and making their performance reproducible in all sorts of foreign contexts is distorting what flamenco is really all about.
Ayer me preguntaste una cosa, me dijiste, ¿qué es el compás? Y yo te dije que el compás era una medida. Y no estoy de acuerdo con eso. El compás es una forma de andar. Una forma de hablar. Una forma de besar. Una forma de abrazar. Eso es el compás.
Technology is something to be grateful for. We have to learn how to not be seduced by technology, to keep this drive alive, this desire alive, to be humans.
In his last years, Heidegger was trying to figure out how to resist the technological understanding of being and have a meaningful human life in spite of it.
We're speaking to a malaise that a lot of people feel. But they may feel, well, I feel this malaise, but I mean, I have no right to because this is progress, right? This is civilization, or this is modernity, or this is, you know, we've made this tremendous leap ahead from all those benighted peasants in the Middle Ages, so who am I to complain? This sense of being sort of morally compelled not to protest, which a lot of people have alongside the feeling that something's wrong here, but I can't believe the feeling because reason tells me the contrary. We can explode that myth.
Oh man, it's kind of a continuity or a
how
spectrum
to
thing.
Respect technology, appreciate technology, use it to
Because
get
he
rid
was
of all
wary
the
of the
dumb
way
stuff
like
that we used
aura
to have
it
to
could
do,
be used to
and yet
fascist
not
ends, like the whole
let it
fascism
get rid of what
aestheticizes, like it
matters
creates an
and
aura
what
or a
is
character.
local and what is unique and what is
But
significant
it is
and
also
meaningful
what like humanizes
for
an art.
us.
If I think nature around me is nothing but meaningless stuff waiting to be optimized, then why shouldn't I just put a nice big hotel here, make a lot of money, all the people can see the ocean? The idea that there's something there independently of me is something you have to cultivate and develop a sensitivity to. And I think that's what a poet does. The poet is sort of the paradigmatic instance of the person who's learned a receptivity to things independent of us.
Think of media as being on a spectrum where there's like on one end fascism, which is aestheticizing and essentializing,
You know, you can be
and then on the other end there's communism, which is
life.
You know, at
is
that point,
made
it's
most
less
meaningful
like art and
when you
more like
respond to
a
meanings that are
tool
independent of
or
you.
a common kind of
Right,
like
and this is the point
reproduced
that goes back to
thing.
Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard said that if you think all meaning comes from you, then you can just take it back. You're a king without a castle, right? You're a sovereign of a land of nothing. There has to be something in the world that pushes back, that has some force over you, or else you'll never experience anything as really mattering to you.
¿Y por qué las guitarras que no son artesanales son tan malas?
Porque las hace una máquina y la máquina no siente, la máquina no entiende. Entonces, las guitarras están vivas siempre, la madera está viva siempre. Y no es lo mismo. Una cómoda, ya no vamos a hablar de una guitarra, vamos a hablar de una cómoda, de un aparador, de una mesa. Cuando la hace la mano del hombre, la comida en esa mesa sabe de otra manera. En un plato que lo haya hecho una máquina. ¿Sí? A comer en un plato que está hecho de barro, que viene de la tierra, y que los haya tocado la mano humana. ¿Por qué? Porque hay dedicación. A las cosas se diferencian, la máquina se diferencia del hombre, precisamente que el hombre no es una máquina.
The standardization that's required for efficiency rules out those sorts of practices. And what characterizes all of them is that they're not terribly efficient. They require a real sensitivity and receptivity to what the particular world requires.
Japanese carpentry doesn't have the focus on efficiency. It's the quality that's really important and the feeling. And so some projects, for instance, Hiroshi did this project that took 7 years. After he selected the wood, it took 2 years for the wood to dry, and then it took 18 months for him to cut everything out in his shop. You have to be patient if you want a Japanese structure.
The way in which Michelangelo saw David in the marble, there was like the inchoate possibility of David, and he brought it out. For me, that's what we all have to do in our lives, in whatever way. You know, and it's a little mysterious to talk about it like that, but I think anybody who gets really good at things has some sense for what it means to bring out what's there that nobody's seen. For me, it was sports when I was younger, now it's teaching, right? So, and that means interpreting texts. So I get incredible joy out of showing that a text that's been read for 2,000 years, there's things there that nobody's ever seen, that are really there, and that once we articulate them together, we can all see that they're really there, right? That great texts are inexhaustible in the same way that reality itself is inexhaustible. I think that's the lesson, that there's this kind of mysterious source that continues to offer humanity meaning. You can call it God if you're religious. Religious in the literal sense of religio, everything's interconnected.
A focal practice reverses all the bad things we've talked about. It draws a group of people together around some specific thing that matters, that requires a kind of skill and mastery in order to be done, and which brings the people out in their own uniqueness at their best.
I tell my students, you can't buy the meaning of life, you can't borrow it, and you can't manufacture it, you can only discover it. And then I invite them to...
We're going to pause this for a moment just because I think we're going to get like an ending cinematic, or we're going to get some kind of development going here in Call of Duty. So, Call of Duty, it's Medal of Honor.
Yep.
Am I even a real gamer, Jacob?
It's just the war game.
The war game, the Hero Man's grand shooter adventure, you know?
Yep, truly. Keep it up, soldier.
Barney, we're keeping it up, soldier.
Yeah.
This rare color footage captured by the Allies shows the early days of the German V-2 rocket program. Capable of hitting targets as far away as London, these so-called vengeance weapons were of great interest to the High Command. One can only imagine the devastation if the Nazis had succeeded with their heavy water research and perfected an atomic warhead. Just as the Me-163 had ushered in the jet fighter, the V-2 heralded the beginning of the missile age, the implications of which would carry through to all the generations of mankind to follow.
Overall rating, good.
All right.
All right. Just a moment, chat. I'm just setting up a sub screen because we have a little time left, so we're gonna have a bonus game now that we finished the mission. But we're also gonna continue watching this video. Give me just a moment. Do we get any kind of credits roll? Or, well, let's see. Let's see what happens.
All right.
In the pandemonium of your assault, the Germans hastily loaded the sabotage gyroscope into the rocket for an immediate launch. Dr. Groening knows what you're up to, so he's quietly made an exit along with someone named Werner von Braun. Before he departed, Groening did you a big favor. He cut the communications cable between Nordhausen's command center and the launch gantry. Goes without saying, but the gantry will be heavily defended. You've got to make it down there, Patterson. Okay, so we have one more mission. All right.
Okay.
It's the only place to manually launch the rocket. You'll find a set of auxiliary controls inside the blockhouse. Begin the launch sequence from there. With the communications cut, there'll be no way for command center to stop it. If you're successful in sabotaging the gyro, the V2 should gimbal lock just seconds after the lock. Stay inside the blockhouse. It's been reinforced to survive explosions of this magnitude. When the rocket comes crashing down on top of you, you'll be the only safe space in all of Nordhausen. Bon chance, my dear friend. Good luck. You know what? That's a pretty cool setup. Like,
Yeah.
they've been teaching us about this V2 rocket and Von Braun and all that, but like, I was like, this doesn't feel like a final level. We'll see if this one does. But you know what this means? This means we get to go back to the video.
Hell yeah. Bring it up.
Bringing that back up. And resuming.
Search their experiences and their hopes and aspirations for occasions where
yeah, Ja, I believe that. I even believe, I remember reading a book a long time ago.
The first is,
I think it was called The Dumbest Generation, which was received at its time.
There's no one I'd rather be with. The third,
I don't want to talk over this dude, but it was received at its time maybe as a bit crankish. I don't think it was though. It was a nonfiction book. The dude's argument was basically that reading physical books is a fundamentally different act from reading like a digital screen. And that just like the haptic engagement of like tracking your progress through a narrative and noticing the page count and kind of getting a physical tangibility thing going with it, like that's a slightly different mode of brain engagement than just like reading off a screen. This book came out like in 2008. I wonder how this guy feels now. I need to look back into it. I forget the author's name. It's called like The Dumbest Generation. The original cover I think had like a Gundam on it, if I remember right. Again, like it was seen as kind of like crank nonsense, but then you actually read the book and you're like, oh, this is less like alarmist or reactionary than I thought it would be based on the thesis. All right, let's continue on. Maybe we'll go on the Discord and talk more about that or search it up later.
There's nothing I'd rather be doing. And the fourth is, this I will remember well.
There are moments when I'm juggling, and they're my favorite moments when I just get
All right,
lost
you really
in
have to
what
lock
I'm
in
doing.
if there's still
and
another
when it
level
happens
to
to be
go.
on stage, I get to share that moment with my audience. I will juggle in a crowded bar, and I know it's working when people go silent and everyone stops.
That's great, Ja.
Because they can't help it. And those are magic. Those are magic.
There was a
moments, and
local
that's why I
coffee
do
house
it.
in El Paso
With jazz,
that
you know, you're
hosted
able
both
to
like an
with
open
the
mic
stars of
series,
jazz.
like a general
Somebody
open
like
mic series,
Wynton
and then
Marsalis
also
or
a local
Bradford
poetry slam
Ray
organization
Brown,
in college.
or you can just go
These
up
were
to
all
them and
free
say, hey,
events.
it's a community.
There's
and
a good
that
way to just
community
get
is what
into
really
like what's up in El
drew
Paso.
me to
Hell yeah.
jazz
Yeah, tap
music.
into the local
There's
scene.
those times where you'll get too
I
inside
love
and
stuff
those
like that.
jazz masters will be sitting in the audience. Those
Yeah,
jazz
because in
legends will
smaller
come
towns,
out and
places
like,
that
hey,
aren't like
man,
Austin or LA or like you
have to
know
see.
New York.
And partly in watching this movie, you're
It's
seeing
a different approach to the
how
local
people
arts.
can
I'm not going to
resist
say
it.
one approach is better than the other. They both have their different places. But like in Austin or New York or LA, you know, you get that events like that, a lot of dudes trying to make a career out of it. Whereas like in small towns, you get dudes who are like, that's just what they do on Tuesdays, you know?
Yeah, true.
And it shows you a different application of the arts in a non-hustle culture sense. Although there are people there that are, you know, on their grind set, getting you on their band camp. No shame in that. I totally understand. I mean, I will tell people to go follow Technopoverty if I meet them in real life, and they're like, sounds like what you're doing is cool. Why is this dude not? There we go.
If I would not be back here, how many African American
And
restaurants
events like
you
that
see?
often are hosted by local restaurants
And if I
and
had
venues,
not
you know?
stayed here all
Another
the
big
time
important
I
thing in
did,
beautiful
the
culture.
community would have gone down
Oh,
to
shit.
nothing. To nothing. You stay in a community and you build
There's
it
a rocket
and you
launcher
make
out
it
there.
work.
Got it.
I have to do what I have to do. I had to go to that park this morning and cook these 20 gallons of gumbo before I go.
I understand
and
if
serve
you're
it out
in
there.
straight up a deadly
And
community
that's
that
the fun
will
thing
kill
about
you and you need to
today.
get out of there.
Look
So
how
I
many
don't
people
hold
you
any
make happy.
like queer people in
Just
content
with a
or like
cup of
women in
gumbo.
content about this. But what she's talking about
Why
here
is
about
it
staying
that
here and
it's something
fighting,
so powerful about
you do need to actually like
We could all go and just take a quick hamburger and then
occupy your community.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you do need to take up
But
space.
I think this
something
is
about
kind of a
eating
strain of liberal defeatist thought that's
about
been in Americans
experiencing
for the
together
longest time.
you know,
I remember during the Bush era, there being like older liberal
meal,
friends of my parents and stuff, just a
experience
bit
of
kind of like,
sipping
oh, we're a
wine
dying
together.
empire, I should go to Canada. Like,
But
it's all people
also,
always want to leave
goes
America
deeper.
because like it's
Humans
the end of
need
days
to
for
eat to
America.
live. So we are in a collective act. We're
And
sustaining.
again, on an individual
life,
level, case
our
by
life
case, I understand people immigrating out of country or immigrating out of state.
Decías que de
Because
la
the
buena
thing
comida
is,
sale buen
Jacob,
flamenco.
for instance, like the Democrats
Sí,
in
bueno,
states like Texas
el
are
buen
fighting way
flamenco
harder
sale
than like the
de la
Democrats
no
in Democratic dominant states, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
De la no comida.
And
They have a harder struggle, and they're still showing
Pero
it.
cuando hay comida es suficiente motivo para hacer una
And it
fiesta.
really highlights how fucked up like gerrymandering is. It's also the whole thing about, you know, when people say like, oh, people in red states deserve these natural disasters that happen. Like,
No, I
Hay un
always
motivo
say
para hacer
that
una
one. It's
fiesta.
just like, dude, natural disasters are just like the worst thing. And you're already in a spot that like needs assistance. So for anyone to kind of be like, man, don't worry about it.
all right, that was a good one as well. Once again, that channel is the Aeon video channel of Aeon magazine. All right, we're gonna focus in. No more videos. Audio up.
We're going for it, folks.
We got this final assault. I have a rocket launcher right here for it.
Let's fuck those guys.
Oh, there's the rocket guy.
Rocket guy!
The rocket
burning
man.
up his fuse out here alone.
Where's little rocket man? There he is.
Your little rocket guy.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Alrighty.
Oh!
Alright. Whoa, whoa!
There you go.
That's right, fuck you.
Right, fuck up your aim, fuck up your aim. Oh, okay.
Damn.
You want to take charge of this? 'Cause there's a lot of dudes just charging at you.
Let's see. Okay.
Oh, you want to get off?
I was gonna say. Okay. Right. Well, good to know.
I meant get off, like get off the turret. Like,
I thought you meant ejaculate. My apologies.
I know you did. Which is, I have to clarify.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna lure dudes out first. Yeah. I shot him in the back.
Okay, awesome. You can shoot Nazis anyway, as long as they're shot.
No, you should be dead. There you go. How do you just have like superhuman aim? What?
What, Mr. Rocket Guy?
Is this like an infinite spawn situation? Oh, there's like a lot of health over there. Okay.
So maybe there's. Let's see.
Is this just like a stand your ground thing?
I think so.
Are we in Florida? Like, you might want to hop off that guy and keep running. Just to keep cycling enemies, because I think there's a dude guy on the side. Let's see.
Let's go try it. Let's go run around, give a shit. Nice. How are you fucking roaches getting in?
They all come over here.
Well, now I'm confused. Like I said, it's just a big stand your ground kind of thing.
Oh, I just like spawned on that guy.
Damn.
Waiting for your favorite character, Mr. Clipmoon? Oh, we are outside, y'all. Yeah, maybe just run down to the truck and see if there's like an action button you have to hit to activate anything. That crate down that way. But yeah, there's a rocket dude.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the guy goes.
Launch the thing. Where's the launch?
Or some of them do the truck itself? I feel like you hit him with that. Shots fucking hell off.
I want to get past those boxes, but it seems like you just got to run in. You just got to go for it, man. Because they just kind of keep flowing in from that one little inlet. Maybe if you like run around the, oh yeah, that's smart too. Get the health back from up there. Is there any like action button prompt or square on the truck? No. Okay. Can you go under the train? Also, that's smart positioning.
Ah, shit,
Oh,
you
shit.
asshole.
Oh. Got him.
Thank you, sir. Oh shit, okay.
Damn. Alright.
No. Yeah, boy. Okay. Throw a couple grenades. Oh. Oh fuck yeah, nice.
Oh my god.
Oh, got you. Guys are just gonna keep coming at you or anything.
Yep.
You're just gonna gotta fucking keep running. Take that, you fucking Nazi.
Where's the launch thing? Oh, no, that's not it.
Interesting, on the ramp.
Cool setup, cool ramp. Oh. He's behind some glass. Gotcha. All right, scientist. Yeah, right.
Like you both were confused.
Did we really have the best brains in the room working on the bomb, folks? Cool, we did it. I think I just hang out in here.
Nice. Like it's like the safest place with a giant open window.
The bulletproof glass both I and the scientists were trying to blast through. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like there's any way to get out of here, so I think we just...
Alright. Music.
There's Clip Moon, there's some V2 rocket. Let's see. Cool way to like get the player into a spot they can't escape from.
Yeah.
Yeah, Berlin, I think it is. Like,
yeah,
Spielberg was throwing all the Saving Private Ryan resources into like this and Band of Brothers. Which, I'm curious to watch Band of Brothers and see how that fares in comparison, since Band of Brothers is very actively not the same kind of individualist thing. Tight.
Nice. Take that, Nazis.
I feel like he figured out the texture during Saving Private Ryan, and then maybe this and Band of Brothers got more into like how to make dramatic narratives of World War II, like events and battles.
Okay,
what up, Captain Quasar? We just beat the game, I think. Band of Hanging with the Bros. Yeah, that's what I understand it is as well.
Fuck yeah, victory.
Informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe.
Oh, Captain Quasar, I'm so down with it. I am ready for Krieger's Resident Evil.
It looks incredible.
Is it the kid who played the meth head in Weapons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another big reason I'm for it too. He just seems like they had a great.
Harry Leon S. Truman Kennedy. Medal awarded.
Alright.
Only 5 grind shots that time. Nice.
Like you were just like, let's just keep killing these Nazis.
Okay, that was the last 5% we needed, I guess.
Ah, gotcha.
What a nice little cinematic ending there. Like, we were kind of confused about intent for a moment.
Yeah.
But like once we got to the actual launch spot, it was pretty safe. I'm gonna grab the second controller so that we can do some quick deathmatching.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully the duck station works as I expect it to. Ladies and gentlemen, we just completed. Ladies and gentlemen, theys and them bees, friends from all ends of the binary and beyond, all quadrants of the chart, the spectrum. Let's not math people, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, we said we were going to get to it, and we did not get to it last session, but in the same way that Heterosexuality is a created category in the same way homosexuality is. In the same way, like, we categorize queerness. My theory is up until about the 1700s, we didn't really have much discussion going on, and people were just doing things.
Yeah.
And then with the invention, you know, industrial era and the need to classify and publish and study and just put everything under a microscope, do the rice counting, then we start kind of classifying what is what there. I'm telling you, we already had a gay president, I'm just saying.
Yeah, this is pretty funny.
What's up? Oh, the
like American
bumper.
to German shit.
Oh yeah, I
like
should
4
show, I
phrases.
believe we got wireframe mode. Let's see what cheats we got.
The relentless enemy.
Electronic arts and
But I mean, to get back to the Iron Dream, again, think about how little he describes or spends time fetishizing the women, whereas it's all about the masculine destructive power of the biker boys and how well they hold their truncheons. Actually, before we do a multiplayer session, I just want to showcase the wireframe mode really quick. So chat, at one point, I was just kind of fucking around with what like the passcodes and the cheats do. It mostly seems like it unlocked multiplayer characters, but it did also unlock a wireframe mode. As you can see, it's the only thing we have. What is wireframe mode, you ask? Let's check it out.
Let's wireframe mode it up.
I believe you go to a previous mission. We liked the forest. AutoCAD of Honor time, that's right, Ja. Picking that beautiful forest level, I was like, oh my, the outside environments, wow, much beauty.
Wow. Much wow. Damn.
You can see through the walls, you can see the dudes. Nice. Jacob, do you want to play through the wireframe of forest we are now in? Look at this geometry. It's just like a 1993 vector-based PC game. I remember the first Mac my family had, there was like a tank game installed on it I would play, and it was vector graphics like this.
Oh, that's pretty tight. Railing death. Yes.
Yeah.
We'd love to see it, folks.
Let's see how legible this stays. Jacob, I played this level. I don't think you were here when I did.
Yeah, no, this is actually kind of crazy, too.
Look up. Is the moon and stuff still? The skybox is still, yeah. Yep. There's your favorite moon, Ja. This is like the next segment. There's a dude up there. Yes. Gang, I did recently dust off my method of playing N60. Ooh, I didn't even realize that was down there.
Yeah, like how do I...
You can crouch. You're in the trench, crouch down.
Oh, damn it, every time.
R1. See, I didn't even know that was there.
Alright.
I did dust off my method of playing N64 games. I may give GoldenEye a spin, not like a full dedicated run through the whole game. It wasn't part of this block. But I'm curious to see how GoldenEye feels freshly off of this, considering, you know, the legend is Spielberg saw his son playing GoldenEye and was like, how could I use this to do a Band of Brothers thing or a Saving Private Ryan? how can I take all my World War II knowledge that this project has given me
and turn it into a bigger product?
Yeah.
More people to learn about.
How can I commodify this? And so just by contrast, I might play the first level or two of GoldenEye. I also have Allied Assault, which I might dip my toes into shortly. But gang, now that we've beaten Medal of Honor, I know that both... Jacob, you're not going to be here next week, correct? Correct, okay. Gang, we're still reading The Iron Dream. We're still lost within the ratings of a Mad Hitler. I'm very curious as to how the novel's going to end. There's a dude up there if you don't see him.
Yeah, thank you.
But the next game we're playing, now that we're done with Medal of Honor, the next full game we're going to play is going to be Conscript, the World War I horror shooter. It's actually, I think, a 2D overhead shooter with survival horror elements, but it takes place during World War I, and we're going to finish off The Iron Dream while playing Conscript. And then we're going to start All Quiet on the Western Front, and that's going to be the last book in our block, because summer's coming up and the season's changing. But yeah, Conscript with All Quiet on the Western Front. Where we're headed from there, the Shorts of Summer. All right, nice. Let's do some multiplayer. What are the Shorts of Summer, you ask? I know I was talking big game about Cowboy Country. That is still in play. Just the Shorts of Summer is going to be a means of catching up on releases from 2024, 2025, 2026. We're gonna stop it with all this retro shit, and we're gonna play new stuff because that's what gets the clicks. That's what gets the views.
New
We're
things.
selling out. Maybe I should just call it Sellout Summer. But
ooh, Sellout Summer.
Sellout Summer does sound fun in terms of like trend chasing. Even though I say trend chasing, but I'm gonna be playing stuff that's like 3 years old by this point and not very.
And we're not gonna
trendy.
look into any trends.
Right, exactly.
To like jump on.
But the reason I was going with the Shorts of Summer, and before this was going to be Slacker Summer, is I went through my bookshelf, and any book under 200 pages, or any book that was a collection of short stories, I pulled. So it's all going to be short novels, short stories, things we can digest really fast. I'm going to have a whole stack of those. I'm going to post it up on the Blue Sky and the Instagram so people can see what we're reading. Of course, I'll be telling you what's coming next. Where do we want to fight? But it's a whole blend of fiction, non-fiction, horror, drama, maybe more military fic. Actually, some of the horror stuff I'm saying aside for an eventual Bloodborne playthrough, but I need my goblin in tow before we enter that realm.
Right.
How's this weapon loadout look to you?
It looks good.
Yeah, I still want to be the raptor.
I like that the raptor is named Steven.
Me too.
That's great.
But yeah, that's what we're looking at. Yeah, Jari, Conscript is one I've been wanting to play for a moment. I think it's like $6 on Steam still. 45 more minutes until May Day, though. Yeah. Of course, tomorrow's May Day. Don't work if you don't have to.
The Velociraptor.
Don't work if you can. Strike in solidarity. I didn't realize wireframe mode was going to be in the multiplayer as well. This is extremely broken. Yeah, purchase all your stuff before midnight. Get that exercised. Of course, I know that it is a kind of symbolic solidarity thing and that we do need sustained and continuous action and pressure.
Yeah, honestly, we need our unions to organize a general strike for everyone to agree on.
Right, and that's one thing I'm looking into too, because I know there's like the general strike kind of talk of 2028 and like the unions getting on the same schedule. So looking into more ways, even if you're not unionized, that you can support unions so that when those people do go on strike, they have the power to remain on strike. Because remember, what is it, like 15% of the population, or you only need like 11% of the population?
Yeah.
You don't need, it's not about,
it's not everybody.
It's not a 200% everybody stops going to work, everything shuts down thing. It's we blot up enough of the economic apparatus that we have leverageable power. And when I say we, I mean literally like we the people, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And again, I think I said this at the end of last night, but like even if you think it's just kind of lib-coated in soy and you're that kind of like online leftist who doesn't think No Kings is effective, we're at a point where people go to No Kings rallies and they find their local DSA, their local PSL, other people in the community that they can do further actions with. And also, again, if ICE and the president and all these people are doing shit like using No Kings rallies as an excuse to blame extremism, it's just like, you know, I'm going to defend the angry libs who maybe haven't quite figured it out yet, but are trying to go out there and find other people to say something with.
Yeah.
Also, though, like, our fucking Congress passed a motion condemning, was it Hassan and Candace Owens?
Yeah.
There was some kind of article on the floor about that, which...
It's just bullshit.
Yeah, what are you
top to bottom
doing, man?
Dude, there's so much shit we actually need. We need actual people doing it. We need actual leaders. There's zero leadership in this country.
Because that's the thing too, is like, again, to think about how much the dude was like a Will Stansel Blue Sky poster. Like, not like an online tanky, but like a normie lib who's just feeling frustrated with the system.
Yeah, the center.
Yeah, if you're not like reading theory and like finding practical, like alleviating ways of like practicing your politics, like you're just in a pressure cooker and your thoughts are gonna be like, well, Second Amendment, America's a land of this, this, and that.
Yeah, dude, he was a normal, average person who had very reasonable reasons for why he did what he did, but what he did was not correct. And just like...
It's kind of also, I was thinking about this too, because Tim Dillon put out there was a clip going around of the Tim Dillon show where he's talking about like everything sucks now, 2026. And he's like, nothing's immeasurably better since 2010 or the mid 2000s, basically. Yeah. And like, I disagree with some of that, but like,
he does have a really good point, though.
Yeah, I was about to say what he's articulating though is a very like common frustration or despair people are feeling right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, everyone.
I personally think, at least to me, like this is something I think of when I try to talk to people about culture stuff, and it's just like. Have you seen a movie or read a book or something that was published after 2010 that you've liked? Like,
yeah.
We fall into this trap of like, you can watch 5 really good movies from the 80s in one weekend and just be under the idea that like, oh, the 80s was that all the time. And like...
Yeah. It very much wasn't.
Yeah, Air Berlin. And the thing is, a lot of the limbo you describe, I think, does start with the Obama admin and the continuing neoliberal project that was on pause because of the war on terror. Oh shit, there's like a sniper's roost up here. I bet this level looks really cool.
Yeah, right.
Wireframe mode off. Oh, there you are.
Super interesting though. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn wireframe mode off and then play one more round after this, I say. As the game intended us to. Also, because I think you're gonna win this. Why am I just like not hurting you?
I don't know, it's very confusing. I mean, something with this hitbox.
Yes, Joe, I think there is, and I think it's why we have AI right now, because like we're getting to the bottom of the barrel as far as like material, tangible capital goods to create, consume, and trade. So it's just gonna be like commodities for commodity's sake. Digital commodities for the sake of having something to fill the commodity slot with. Also, I forgot what I was on before talking about the sniper spot. Continuation of the neoliberal project. Yeah, because like Obama cracked open the whole gig economy thing and the whole like you can be your own boss and like, of course Uber will always pay you $20 an hour and only be $10 a ride.
Yeah.
Netflix will always only be $7 a month. Why would they have commercials? HBO Max? HBO's a premium brand. Why would they ever sully their streaming service with commercial breaks?
Mm-hmm.
Why, Disney, you can buy Fox.
I mean, technically, Ticketmaster did just get something happening to them, of what I'm not sure, but they were like a monopoly.
Because, yeah, the concept of progress as like a popular animating force for people, I can last think of in like 2008 with like the push for like healthcare. But what I'm talking about with all the gig economy-ification of the American economy, think again of the MCU coming to its popularity during this time as well, and what that franchise did to the superhero. You know, you don't have an alter ego, you don't have a work-life balance. Like, Tony Stark is Iron Man all the time. Thor doesn't have a day job at all, he's just always a cop. But like during those years, you do see the American Democratic Party, the American liberals, really separate themselves from doing anything for labor. You're a taxi driver? No, you're not. Not anymore. You're gonna have to. Now you do Uber, and the cost is way different and worse.
Yep.
And after the Iron Man movie is before the Iron Man movie. This is why I don't think it's going to be good, and I'm not like excited or like doing any kind of fan speculation of like in-universe lore stuff. But just on a textural and kind of ideological level, I am kind of curious what happens with the whole Tony Stark Doctor Doom thing in the sense of like Capital just like peddling out the same guy again, you know?
Just drinking its own piss, baby.
Right. I mean, it's supposed to be Spider-Man, but they've so completely destroyed any sense of interiority for the character that I don't think you can really wrangle it out. But I think they've done that. I'm not saying that just because Spider-Man's my favorite either. I think they've generally done that to the concept of superhero. It is frustrating to me how boring superhero comics are considered in the popular perception because of how boring the movies are. When like right now there's a lot of cool shit actually going on in Cape Comics and indie comics. And just the comic scene to me is interesting because like within the realm of comic book fans, you find a lot of like illustrators, writers, indie level creators. Like gaming's getting up there as well. Like the tools are being accessible to where like a lot of players are creators in the same way. And I don't know, there's a whole economy of like self-directed craft and creation and socializing to print comics that, you know, comic books as cinematic practice don't facilitate at all.
Yeah. Is it Free Comic Book Day tomorrow?
That's Saturday. Saturday is Free Comic Book Day. If you also, that's the thing too. Like print comics, you do have to go to a local comic book shop to pick up.
Mm-hmm. You do digital, but come on.
Yeah, there's some wonky histories to that, and I understand if you don't have a local comic book shop that's cool. But like, I mean, shout out Austin Books and Comics. They're wonderful.
They're great.
Support your local comic book shop. If you go out on Free Comic Book Day, they're probably doing an event where there's local artists and creators. Again, the slam poetry thing, I was part of in El Paso for a bit. Ray Ramos and a few others. I don't think I'm doxing them because I'm doing it in kind and I'm not giving out an address, but like, they were also like local dudes who did like comics about cryptids and shit, and they're like independently published now.
Dang.
But you know, again, you go to those local art events and you find people like that in your community. You go to your local Free Comic Book Day, you find shit like that in your community. In fact, last year, Lux and I went on the Vox Populi, the Vox Popcast, with our friend Chris Maverick and his co-host Wade, and we were talking about Free Comic Book Day for this very reason. All right, let's turn off the wireframe and do one more death match before calling it a night. You know what? I'm not familiar with Damage Inc., Ja. Big things I'm reading right now are Assorted Crisis Events and Absolute Martian Manhunter by Denise Camp. Denise Camp's on a pretty good hot streak right now as far as like writing talent goes. Also a writer of the Ultimates, which I was really on board with Marvel's Ultimate project when it first started. It's coming to a close now, and I don't think they're sticking the landing, but Denise Camp's Ultimates is still pretty good. Martian Manhunter, Sword Crisis Events, that's good. If you're a big fan of just like fun cape stuff, the Absolute universe is going pretty well right now. You got Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Batman. Absolute Martian Manhunter, I kind of classify as a different thing. It seems to be siloed off into its own story. It does take place in the same universe, but let's do troubleshooting.
Hell yeah.
Actually, we just did Castle Von Trapped. Let's do sightseeing. I think this is the missile silo, the last level.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you want to do something with a rocket launcher in it? There's not one with a rocket launcher and a sniper, which would be the best.
Yeah, shotty snipers is... Oh, well, no, that's shotgun snipers. That's also a fun one, but yeah.
Is there like an RPG shotgun? Yeah. You want to do RPG shotgun?
Yeah.
Because honestly, sniping's not that fun in this game. It's fun to snipe enemies in the single player, but like it's too clunky for multiplayer. Which again, that's why I think that's where GoldenEye probably edges us out in the nostalgia zone, is like GoldenEye's a bit sillier with the weapons and it's a bit more nonsensical with the multiplayer, so it's funner, it's sillier.
Yep.
I feel these maps are kind of dry.
Oh yeah, for sure. They very much are just like, yeah, we'll just use this section.
Still not familiar with damage control, Ja. Apologies. Oh yeah, here's the like ledge that I walked down. They have you walk down from.
Pretty nice. Oh yeah. Oh, and now there's a hole or there's a door.
Yeah, so you can walk out of the bunker.
Nice.
Okay, this might be my favorite map just because it's like a bit big, a bit outdoorsy.
Yeah, you got a little bit more like...
Because some of the other maps, they feel like convoluted, kind of like crunchy corridors. It's a bit too claustrophobic.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like, this is bringing to mind why Blood Gulch was such a revelation when people played Halo 1.
God, I love Blood Gulch. So good. Oh,
you remember firing up Blood Gulch and just being like, holy shit, this is huge.
Yeah.
What was... I wish... Well, this is... Because we're going to be out, we're not going to be doing Halo, but like, I'm remembering the snow level in Halo 1.
Right.
The big capture the flag one.
Oh, yeah.
That was
it's like sub level or something like that. Fuck yeah.
Gotcha.
Damn it. I had the shotgun. I was like, please no.
A list of bookmarks, accidental surprise, where I found an interesting subject by messing up a Google search. Nice.
That's always fun, honestly. Whoa, girl, no. This is what this is gonna come down to.
I think part of it is like I guess it's hard to tell if you're hitting them. There's no real way to tell if you're doing damage. Did you see how I was like shotgunning you and like yeah, your health's going down if I'm looking at your health bar, but like there's no real recoil or blood spurt or anything like that on your body.
There's no visuals outside of like numbers going down.
Which again brings to mind Halo, because it's kind of genius how the shields, like, first off, yeah, regenerating shields that changed up how people think of health economy, but like it also gives the person shooting at you feedback. Because remember when you shot someone in Halo, the shield would go off, like the way.
Yes.
Like like it's a good haptic response. Because I don't know how it feels shooting at the Raptor for you.
Yeah.
But like it feels very weird, like that I am landing hits on you. It is doing damage, but like
yeah, but it is hard
doesn't
to tell.
feel like anything.
Yeah.
I know there's some kind of, I don't know if there's an Austin book tour thing going on or if that already passed, but I was gonna give a shout out to Livra Books and Alienated Majesty Books as well. 2 shops right around the corner from us. I don't want to say too much because then we'll get stalked, but maybe I want you to stalk us.
Yeah. You guys ever think of that? Maybe we're reverse stalking you, making you come to us.
Alienated Majesty is cool though because they host like music events and shit in addition to like hosting like a book club and like other stuff you'd expect at a bookstore. I remember I went in there and I saw a pamphlet and I was like, oh, they have black metal shows here.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit.
3-2 is tracking us because as it has been established, 3-2. Oh shit.
A little bit of a creep.
I was gonna say likely effect, but then you started firing at the back of my head.
Yeah. Thank you, player ammo. Oh, where's that Henry? Barney, where's Henry? Where is he, huh? Are you getting tired?
Oh, Barney's at bedtime?
Yeah.
You wanna go to the other room?
She can feel it. Come on, little girl.
Yeah, there you go.
It's bedtime, go stretch.
There you go. Or do you just want me to pay you, huh?
Oh yeah, you're just gonna get some Henry pets?
What's going on here, Barney?
Yeah, can't decide. Should I stay or should I
You
go?
try to distract me so Jacob can get some kills in? Is that what's happening?
It's all part of the plan, Barnabas. Oh, there's bazooka ammo inside that little room. I didn't realize that.
Nice.
Good to
What
know.
is up, a ghost, bro? All right, bye, Barney.
I love you, Barney.
Back to shooting my friends, which is
murder.
The great American tradition. With cultural artifacts like this, how could Columbine not happen?
Truly.
No, this is no way. Again, violent video games don't cause violence.
No.
We're not
Well,
Jack
people-
Thompson here. Do you guys remember Jack Thompson, guys? Remember when he was the big skate? Remember when he was the main character?
God. Get him the fuck away from all of it.
I'm just thinking of like old issues of Penny Arcade now where that was like the punchline.
Oh man, I miss Penny Arcade.
I don't.
Wonderful times.
I mean, there's still like PAX events and stuff, right? I'm sure.
Yeah. I guess I miss the times of when it was relevant.
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
life.
I think
It
the
was
Penny
very
Arcade enterprise has moved on to do things that are probably better. I'm just remembering, like, I remember that one Penny Arcade comic where it's either Paris Hilton saying "that's so hot" or Britney Spears saying her catchphrase, and the second panel is just one of the dudes being like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." Like, it's just like misogyny is the punchline.
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of like smarmy, like, oh, trust me, I read Watchmen and read I've read The Matrix and I've watched The Matrix and read Watchmen. I know what smart media is, kind of like nerd. Damn.
Yeah.
One of my favorite early internet things was ruthless reviews because they were a place where criticism actually took into consideration cultural context. It was sort of the opposite of like Ain't It Cool or, you know, the sort of poptimist route of the era. And I just remember they put out a really good Fuck the 300 Nerds review when 300 came out. And it was the first time I heard like really good incisive critique of like why being a nerd was bad.
Yeah.
Just bringing up the general like entitlement ethos and rape culture of stuff like Revenge of the Nerds. And again, like, you get like Marvel cultural dominance in the late 2010s, and Martin Scorsese puts out one thing where he's like, these are more roller coaster rides than cinema. And what he's trying to say there is like cinema has specific aims and affects that are different than like blockbuster movie making, which this is. And then what happens? Like every year now, whenever a Marvel movie comes out, since then, somebody just has to be all like, Martin Scorsese would like this one. Just can't get over it.
Yeah.
Even though like that wasn't even the point of the essay.
It's every time.
He's talking more about like the mode of engagement that's different between like what you would call cinema and what you would call maybe just a movie. And instead of like a Captain America nerd just being like, oh, okay, well maybe there's different modes of cinematic production and I should watch something of a different structure and challenge.
Yeah,
It's just like, there's good and bad movies and he thinks they're bad, so he's bad and it's the us
He
versus
doesn't know
them. Yep. Gee, and there we are back at the individualist scapegoating thing. Is there glass now?
Oh, is there?
No, it looks like I can probably shoot you through the thing.
Oh, you can. Whoop. Girls!
Has defeated the Velociraptor.
Wow, Von Braun has defeated the Velociraptor.
Much like history is come to repeat itself, it looks like.
Yeah,
You know?
we got Von Braun, we made history, we tamed the Velociraptors, we got the bombs. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We beat Medal of Honor. That was pretty tough for an ending there.
Dude,
I mean,
seriously.
Fun. Yeah, I talk all the time, video games aren't hard, yada, yada, yada. What I mean is it was just very, very dense, very hard to read. You saw us play the actual thing.
Yeah, you were there. Or you were rewatching it on YouTube and you saw what happened.
Yeah, but so join us next week. I'll be starting Conscript then. We're gonna probably start Conscript talking about the end of the Iron Dream, but Hitler fought in World War I, so we're still in relevant territory. After the Iron Dream, all quiet on the Western Front. I'll tell you more about the Shorts of Summer, or Slacker Summer, or what was the other one?
Sellout Summer.
Sellout Summer. We'll figure out what we're calling the Season of Summer. And, hopefully Conscript's not so short that I beat it in a single session and it's like, oh fuck, I was hoping for a month's worth of time before we got to summer. But
yeah.
Hey, in case that happens, I might fall back on Medal of Honor Allied Assault just to see how that improves upon the formula. But this has been TECHNOPOVERTY. Thank you all for joining us. Again, we're going to be watching Le Silence de la Mer on the Discord this weekend, and then the next weekend, I think we're going to start with Paths of Glory. We're going to probably watch Paths of Glory just so that I have some time to actually get all Quiet on the Western Front read. After Paths of Glory, we'll probably watch the old black and white All Quiet on the Western Front. After that, maybe the more contemporary Netflix adaptation, depending on how long Conscript goes, I guess. Again, I guess I can always fluff out this block with Medal of Honor Allied Assault. I do have that at the ready, and I mean,
just in case.
We're in the mode. I have the short-term memory loaded up. My RAM is good to go with more Medal of Honor, but. You know what? We'll see what Monday brings. Until then, y'all take care. I'm going to see if the Pixel Goblins or Wizworld or Cinemarxism or Dot Level or anyone like that's going right now to raid into. But otherwise, y'all have a good night.
Good night, Techno Hodge and Thotties. We love you. 4 kisses.